Good evening. I'd like to call or begin the meeting. Tonight's special call city council meeting is Wednesday, December the 16th, 2015. It's approximately 6:08 p.m. Ms. Derry, would you call the roll, please?
A.C. Brown.
Here.
Beverly Johnson.
Here.
Bob Powell is absent. Daniel McDaniel.
Here.
Tim Terry is absent. Lance Terry.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Derry. The one and only item on the agenda for this evening is the adoption, or this, hopefully, of the 2016 budget. I know we have two councilmen that are absent, and it's my understanding that both of them are out. So just so you know that, but they could walk in any minute, or it could be 15 minutes, I'm not sure. So I would open it up, and my thought and position on all this always is to do this as the council desires. It's your budget. So the last time we met, we went as far as going into the Parks Commission. We also heard from the Water and Wastewater Commission. So do you want to pick up the line, or is there anything you want to hear from specifically first and go from there?
Yeah, I'd just say, from my point of view, I think all of us had a lot of chance to read through the budget. I know Danny wouldn't give me the opportunity to do it the other night, but, I feel like most of my questions have been answered. I think maybe just get the department heads up there and give us a chance to just ask them any questions. But if councilmen have questions, maybe just start with police, fire, street, just kind of work around. I don't feel like I need to hear from parks and water again. I feel like we've heard their budget, had opportunities, unless Daniel has specific questions for parks and water. We've already had the opportunity, Lance and AC and I, to talk to them. I feel like I've got my questions answered there. Unless somebody has another idea, I think I would just.
There is one with parks though. They met this week and we did receive a grant, so they had to put that in.
So they're just added the grant to the revenue side. That's the only change.
And they also received.
You're putting money in, not taking money out.
Right, but they also put 500 in from the Chamber of Commerce that they received this year, but it will not get spent until next year. So they did increase materials and supplies by $500.
And that's the only change.
Was that grant that 125 that they were, or what was it?
Yes.
That's the trails grant.
80-20 match on that.
Does that sound okay with y'all?
Councilman McDaniel, do you want to hear, would you like Richard or the chair? Actually, last it was Sandoval as the chairman of the commission. Would you like to?
No.
They're both here.
I mean, I certainly haven't memorized this budget by any stretch, but I've looked through it. My only comments or concerns at all about any of it, and I'll pick on Stewart, because he's fun to pick on, but, big ticket items. In the fire budget, we have the addition of the fire station. Whether that's the right thing to do or not, I don't know. I don't think we're going to sit here and hash that out today. Any department that's got big ticket capital expenditures, I'll just ask that, let's be smart about it, and I think we will. I don't think that we won't. There's money in the budget. When it comes time to deal with those things, let's figure out the right way to spend the money on the right stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with
And
that.
then the second thing, and I've talked to Ann about it, on the pay increases, as long as we are comfortable with who they are, what they are, why we did it, we can explain it to people. I'm absolutely an advocate for paying people for what they're worth. As long as we can justify that and explain our position.
Well,
And that's this administration, I think, more than us.
well, I guess, on that, that's what we always get hung up on, is the pay. And I'd really like to just kind of focus on the budget, like you said, the big ticket items, wherever the department heads get that, and then maybe kind of look at, addressing, the pay. Or maybe even to that point, just looking at having a work study session on that sometime, maybe in January, just on the merit basis. And stuff. I know that I was told that the federal COLA was 0.1%. And I think we are in pretty good shape. And I would consider a half to 1% COLA just across the board there, and then have the department heads come and tell us, kind of where they see where merit would be. because I think that would be, even at 0.5%, we got 1.75 last year COLA. And I'm thinking that, even at 0.5%, I mean, that's kind of 5 times above the federal. And I think, that's where we always get hung up on. I really like to listen to the department's big ticket items and just look at the raises, COLA, merit, whatever they are, rated.
Okay, well, that being said, I would guess I would ask if the council desire, do you want to hear back from the works? And we'll,
I don't need to hear
on big ticket items or not?
Uh,
That's really up to Dan. I think.
No, I'm good, I'm good.
And the water commission's good, water, wastewater. So police, I think was suggested.
Yeah, I mean, the only question I had in the police budget, what page is that on?
It's page like 62.
Yeah, so I think this is probably a topic that I was referred to, under 60010 salaries officers. Annualized 2015 budget was $7,728,000.
Yes.
Just making sure,
Yes.
once you know I'm reading the budget, see that? I'm gonna try to slip that in on me, so that's actually $728,000. That was the only question I had about this. I don't really have any other questions.
You're on page 62.
Yeah. I mean, you have less capital expenditures.
That's basically the two vehicles.
And I don't have any specific questions for Chief, that was the one clarification I wanted on that budget.
This year, in this budget, I switched to the Ford, basically Explorers, away from the Tahoes, because this model Tahoe went from, I think they're going from 26 something and they're up to 32 something now. Just getting too high to pay for vehicles each year. But Ford is 25,000 and I think the reviews are all wheel drive. Not as roomy, but
That's page 70.
we're hopefully phasing out the involves that, it seems like once they get past about 65,000 miles for the type of wear they get, they just don't hold up, and we're replacing transmissions. But the ones that we're talking about replacing are in the 97,000 mile range, maybe slightly over that by now.
We use some of our building money to light up the front of the fire station, the police station, which isn't really the front, but the part that faces this way, where it says Greenwood Police.
What are we going to use it for?
You
What
want
are we
it,
using for?
you want it lit up, that what you're saying?
Yeah, just add some lighting on the front of it.
Just decide.
Take it out.
On the Coker Street side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just have to get a quote.
We don't know if that's lights, building lights up where it says that or whatever.
That's something you can come back with in January with an idea, we can amend the budget to.
Absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't think that'd be a big number. You've got maintenance for repair of the building, landscape maintenance, $5,800. I don't know what you're planning to do with that.
That's a
all
specific number. We're going to take care of the lawn and maintenance all year long. Those are specific numbers.
You want to speak to your merit raises or adjustments that you have to do, budget getting, right there.
Well, there's two different ways of, and when I went and talked to him, I wasn't sure what exactly we proposed as far as each department. And I think each department's probably different. So at the time I went in with Ann the last time, I just told her 3% across the board. I had a pay chart from last year, but in order for that to work, I think probably the whole city needs to go through some kind of pay chart that's through a study, use the same resources that are used, for each department. I used the book that's up to 9,000 something there from municipal league to get our median salaries at the median for each step and the maximums. They're basically below the maximums and below the medians at each step, and it shows that in that paperwork that I gave you. They can reach the maximum and median if they get all their certificates to be, at the median or slightly above that, or the maximum at it, or slightly above it. When I say maximum, I'm talking about the median that the cities use for the study. We're not talking about being the higher end city in pay, but being at the median for the maximum pay of those cities, what that average is. If they can get to that median if they have a degree, which they can get their associates online if they go to Canada for free. So there's some things they can do if they work to get them up to the average for the max for the cities in Arkansas for our size.
So the adjustments you made to bring them, they're still less than the median for cities our size?
My pay scale I did is slightly less than the median for cities our size, using basically one city that's larger than us and approximately 6 cities that are smaller than us.
I don't
And
know.
with your 3%, I mean, was that after you kind of, because I really appreciate your, salary, details here and everything, pay scale details. But I mean, after you kind of see where, saw everybody lined up there, toward the, between the minimum and the maximum and how they were, median adjusted that, is that where you came up with the 3% or did you just do the 3% first?
Just a number, when there's not a structured way of doing raises in the city, it's kind of, we're kind of throwing out numbers. Someone threw out 50 cents for someone and $1 for others. It's just, there's no background, I think, for seeing what other cities are paying, and I think this did that. I don't want to go back to my guys. If some departments were giving $1 raise, I would have rolled down to and go back and say, well, I got you guys 25 cents on our pay scale, but, the rest of them not doing that.
Well, I think, to me, to say that where we're at with this list of salaries is still less than the median for communities smaller than us, in our size, is justification enough for me to move it to that direction. We don't want to be the community that's the low end, we don't want to be the community at the high end, and we're still not really in the middle, still working towards one.
And I do appreciate that too, but I do see too, though, that's where I would kind of hear Chief Dawson's comments there, in that there is a disparity, among the departments, and I think that, having a kind of a work study session where we can maybe be more uniform and eliminate that disparity, I think would be really beneficial to just, kind of having that, like that word, disagreements or, or backlash, say, well, hey, somebody over here got this and somebody got that, I think it would help us to, and help the department heads too, when they, talk to their guys.
Can we task the mayor with that? That to me is an administrative process, figuring out how you're going to do merit raises and how that's going to be handled departmentally.
We've been working on that. When I say we, Chief Dawson and I, and Brooke, of course, and Ann, and we've all been, especially the last 3 or 4 weeks, and then it's going over into with the department head, which of course it needs to spill over. We've not had a quote-unquote study session for department heads on, but we are certainly working on that.
Can we make a reasonable goal, time goal for the department heads to get together with you and come back to us with some sort of plan for consistency across the departments for the 2017 budget?
I think we can come back with you in a month or 2 at the very most.
I think too that we should compare, not just cities of our size, but I think your competition. I think your officers aren't going to leave here and go to the Queen, they're going to leave here and go to the county.
Yeah.
Or they're going to go to Fort Smith, right? So that's truly your competition as far as keeping staff. So I think we should compare ourselves.
As far as
It's been a problem in the past, we brought people in, we trained them up, and then they go somewhere else.
Typically the county, right?
we lost building panel to the county this year. We lost one to the county last month.
And page 66, with where you're totaling there, the salaries, that's not, your total off, right?
Yeah, down there at the bottom.
So it's like 1.4.
Now, what was, I didn't hear the budget question.
This didn't,
Page 66.
Oh, okay. That's, well, I guess in some ways I'd like for, because,
It's the sum times 7.65%.
what are you trying to say there?
you're saying 7.65
Right.
of the overall
Private payroll
673.
taxes.
Oh,
So it's the 7.65% of all of those numbers added together.
oh,
I got you, that's just giving you five.
yeah.
Yes.
So it truly is pocket total, right?
So,
Yes.
Right, that's just not.
7.65% of the sum of those items listed.
yeah, another way to look at this, if you look at just page 62, salaries, officers, volunteers, in our salaries for 2016, I'm assuming this is with the merits included, is almost 50,000, 55,000 less. Is that right? Or we have a position we're not replacing, is that what we're doing there?
Because we lost someone that's higher, what happens usually is we lose people that are higher paid, and then, you come back in, for example, the sergeant position starts out certain pay, and that person that left is significantly over that amount, and you're starting out at that base salary pay, and then you're bringing someone in at the bottom, that's the starting pay.
So we have the same number of positions in 2016 staff as we did in 2017, but even with the raises, as an overall budget line item, it's costing us $55,000 less in 2016 than it did in 2015, correct?
No, it is, but it's really costing us a lot more because we lost a lot of experience.
Well, I know, but I'm just talking about from an actual dollar standpoint,
Salary wise.
even though we're giving these raises, as a total, we're spending less money in salaries on police officers in 2016 by 55,000 than we did in 2015. So, to me, not only can we afford to give the raises, but we're still paying in total less money.
Well, to be fair, for me, and I hate to bring it up, but we've incurred obviously new bills. We have a new electric bill, we have a new gas bill, and we've certainly added to it. But I don't want that to be hidden to know that. Obviously, we have lawn care and utility bills and a lot of things that came with the new building that we didn't have before that are going to be in that budget. The biggest thing about the step raise scale that I gave you is if we finally decide that that's something that we want to do and other cities do, especially in police departments, is that once we go to it, it's hard to get away from it. You pretty much know, what that increase is going to be each year, what that person's going to be paid next year, and they're going to top out. One of our sergeants is at the last step, so until you figure a new scale on cost of living several years later, they're going to be stuck at that position or that pay scale. The top position is step 10 until you reconfigure that pay scale. And which, the amount of time you want to reconfigure, that's up to you guys. But I guess that depends on cost of living raises and other things that may occur with the economy.
Well, and I guess that's where I know, to tag on Dr. Lee's comments, I would like to still for the council, to be kind of included in those meetings if at all possible, because again, I just think that that way we would be, abreast of, again, what's going on. And
I don't expect that to be accomplished before this budget. I just,
Right.
looking forward to get going for 2017 would be, we can look at that standard, certainly have us participate in those meetings.
Is that still a 3%?
Yes.
So that's, in that budget, that's the original 3% across the board. It's not the step.
Yeah, but it still puts you where you discussed, and still the total number is that amount of money you're spending on salaries less than 2016. I have a question.
Any other questions? Chief?
and again, you think that with your, so you increase your electric, you're on your gas, no, heating, no, like you really haven't gone through a winter yet. And now you're really coming up and telling in the summer, do you think, those are to your best estimate there, or do you think you probably have to come back and say, hey, it was much bigger area than what you had?
And I got together and I think we feel comfortable where it's at. I tried to, try to go a little bit above what we first thought, just to get some cushion.
We estimated we might add about 1,300, 2,000, just to make sure, because we don't really know the winter or the summer even for that matter. They might be here enough in the summer, and when they were, they had the air conditioning set higher than they normally would. As you know, we have a hot summer, so
Sure.
that's going to be. So we're going to evaluate it in, say, June, see what it is, and then again in September, and then we'll have a much better idea.
I believe for the 2 months we did get for electric, I think it was $700 and something each of those months.
I know it's usually different type of building than what the pavilion is, but Ann does as good a job estimating, guesstimating as she did with the police department, as she did with the pavilion. You're in good shape. Good. Great. Councilman Tim Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder? Did you have any questions for the police department? I would like to announce to you, if you haven't noticed, Denise Harris. Denise Harris is here from DCR, and that's, Councilman Terry requested her presence for this meeting, in case anybody had any questions for her. She's, again, with DCR, so I would like to make sure that you're aware of that as we go through these different departments, or if you just want to put it all on her now.
We want to talk about general fund now, and that way we can ask her what
Sure.
questions we have.
I know she would probably not like to stay for our whole meeting. So, go to budget, or general,
General fund starts on page 6,
page 6.
unless you want to go through the detail.
Well, my only question for her was I was just wanting to know, I mean, they're talking about bundles, and monthly installments, and then a big pay, and a quarterly pay, and I was just confused on, first of all, I mean, what the price package is. Secondly, what all's offered, what are we getting? You're right, I'm just kind of wondering.
Similar to the question. In our industry, there are about 3 ways that you can outsource IT support. You can pay for it when it breaks. You call somebody when something breaks and they're going to come in. You can pay a fixed rate contract. And I'm going to use an example of software companies because they use fixed rate contracts frequently. Let's say the software company is an accounting system, and in order to get updates and maintenance for a year, they're going to charge you $2,000. And then you're entitled to call their support for that amount, regardless of whether you use it or not, regardless of whether they release that data or not, pay that. Most companies like that today, if you choose not to pay it and you wait 2 years or 3 years and then an update is due, they want you to back pay it before they're going to let you get those upgrades or updates, or you buy stuff outright. The third way to do it is what we refer to as a bundle support agreement. In a bundle agreement, you buy a number of hours that do not expire. You're free to use them however you choose to use them. And if it takes you 6 months, or it takes you a month, or it takes you 2 years, your investment never goes away. For me personally, because we deal primarily with small businesses and municipalities, we prefer the bundle program because it protects the client's investment. I don't like the contracts that you have to pay a flat amount, whether you use it or not. So that's kind of how the bundle works. The city is on a 96-hour bundle. So with us, they choose to buy 96 hours at a time. We started with the city in 2012, and I think in 2013, they used 2 96-hour bundles. I think in 2014 and then 15, they did 3. In 2013, Tyler Price had taken a much more active role as the land administrator for the city, and I think that probably was a direct result in seeing that lesser hours. And then kind of what you get for that, what included or not included, is that helpful? Okay. So with a fixed rate, or excuse me, with our bundle contract, like I said, you can use it for anything you want to use it for. You can use it for on-site support, telephone support, remote support. The way the city has structured it, when Tyler left and Tyler did come to work for us, Tyler wanted to move into the IT industry full-time. He did not have an opportunity with the city. The city didn't want a full-time salary for an IT person. We had open, he came to work for us, and Tyler has since then moved on to another 88 and doing really well with their Tyler. But without Tyler here, the city has opted to have one of our support engineers here one morning a week. He's usually here anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. One day a week, the city knows he's coming. His job is to check with Brooke, who is our primary point of contact, and then with all of the department heads. So people funnel into Brooke, and then he goes to check with all the department heads to make sure there's not anything to be done. You have unlimited support desks, so we have full-time support desk people in-house. Brooke or Charlotte or Anna, whomever needs to call or email, that support is there available. We have a help desk account which we also remotely monitor, so that's all included. And then there are senior engineers assigned to your account. So for example, when we started with the city, you had 5 servers, 5 physical servers that were all out of warranty and all reaching end of life, and we had no option to buy a warranty. That had been done in a reactive mode, we're gonna wait till something breaks. The problem was you were in a situation with 5 servers being ready to reach end of life. Over 2014 and 2015, we worked with you to replace those servers, and the labor to do that was pulled out of those 96-hour contracts as well from your senior engineers. And then we've trained Charlotte to do backup checks and test restores, so we don't do those for you any longer. We do core system updates from a security perspective to make sure your servers are secured and not likely to be breached, make sure antivirus and spyware software is catching what it's supposed to. We review those reports to see if there are any problems being identified. We do the same thing with the firewall. We do the same thing with your email system. And those are all from a security perspective to keep you in compliance with what the auditors want to see. And then we have a technical sales rep. There is no charge for his services, but his job is to work with department heads, figure out what they need, provide them with budget numbers. That doesn't mean this is going through what it is, maybe it isn't, but it gives them the budget to work off of. And then if there's a problem, the phone system last year had reached end of life. The planning department didn't have any phones. Richard never did have a phone. And they needed to figure out how that was going to impact them. What do? You buy a phone system, you go to a hosted solution. What do you do? And so that technical sales rep is responsible for working with you and with the vendors to develop bids and budgets to present to you. So that's a little bit of how we work and what we do.
That's what I wanted to know, and I just wanted to make sure you had that you were normally dealing with municipalities, small business, that we were getting the best bang for our buck, and you answered that right out of the gate, so I appreciate it.
We do work with, our focus is small business and small municipalities. So we have municipalities down in Louisiana, Arkansas, and, I've been doing this for about 30 years, and my favorite, and I'm a Greenwood citizen, I've lived here for 25 years, so what I do, I love to do, and working with small businesses is a lot more fun than working with enterprise, because you get to know the people and what they need. And so, from my perspective, yes, I think you're getting the best bang for the buck. You always have the option, if you want to reduce your hours, you don't have to do 9 to 6, you can do 48-hour bundles. you do 24-hour bundles, you do 12-hour bundles. So if you, and sometimes people do need to reduce their budgets for whatever reason, revenue's down, there's capital expenditures coming up, so they don't have the money, then there are ways to reduce that.
What this is 396.
It's $396. Yeah, Ann and I spoke about this. The city has done really well this year. They budgeted for $396. The third one just came up due the end
Just
of
December.
December. And so because it never expires, based on the 3 hours a week for the month of December, you're going to roll into 2016 with 80-something hours on that bundle. And so while you're budgeting for 3 in 2016, if you don't need it, you're not going to buy it.
Because last year we bought one, or in 13, we bought one in October of 13. The next one was not purchased till February.
Of 2014, right? And so that's the beauty of that never expiring, right? You only buy it when you need it.
Appreciate that.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome, thank you.
The only good question I have about general fund is under public works labor. Those are added employees that other people are adding.
Right, that is
So
what the mayor had asked me to put in.
explain that to us, here's your justification for that, $9,000.
What I don't have in front of me, I'm sure somebody's got it, is a breakdown of that labor. What my proposal was this year, and I can't remember when we started this or when I jumped into it, was to try to, what I noticed as parks director, and what I noticed is that, the very few months as mayor, we were always needing maintenance, always maintenance issues in different areas, certainly this facility, taking care of the senior citizen activity center, all across the board. Everybody needed something from somebody. We were typically picking on, and that's the term I use, we were picking on the street department to take care of those issues, whether it was kind of change the light bulb, ballast in the hallway, whatever it may be. And it seemed like a good idea to me to try to figure out a way to create, if you will, a maintenance department, if that's what you want to call it. But my goal was to do just that, kind of see how it worked. So that's what I did without really changing anything. Joe has been patient with me, using 2 street department employees. Their salaries still remain in this street department. These 2 gentlemen immensely. I don't know, is this in their packet? And, or Kristen, do you know? You guys have this? Okay, she gets back. This is the breakdown of what those 2 gentlemen have done. Here it comes. For each department. The hours spent, and these are two workers. And it's broken down in the hours that were worked. Since we started this, looks like it was February, October, what she's got. And how much it cost each department, or what was charged to them. And it has been working like this. I'm sure I can let Brooke elaborate a little bit, or somebody else do an even better job than I'm doing. The work orders would come through Brooke. Now, this is something else I just laid in her lap, if you will. Yes, I was in my office, but it typically goes through Brooke anyway. So the work orders, we let the departments know that we had 2 guys that were ready and able to do maintenance. One of them is a master electrician, lifetime licensed master electrician. The other gentleman is been in the street department 20 years, 15 years, I don't know. 15 years. So they work well together, and they do a lot of things, as you can see, in a lot of different departments, and maybe the department heads can elaborate on what they've done. Some of the departments don't use them much, as you can see. Other departments use them a lot. Parks department is actually, obviously, the most used. And I knew that again because of the parks, being the parks department myself. So we put them in that position. The POs come, the work orders come through Brooke's office, through her, and that's contacted through the department head, and it's just been working pretty well, other than I just laid it all on Brooke to make it happen. So, but my thought process was, okay, now who's going to pay for this? How does it work? So I asked all the departments what they thought about paying on a percentage percentage of how they used it this last year. And as you can see, some of the percentages are very low. I would say the water and sewer, police department, obviously, very little. Now, I will tell you, I don't want to hide anything, the Water and Wastewater Commission did not put this in their budget. Now, this is all kind of happening fairly quickly, and my fault on the timing, trying to get with the commissions before they met and approve their own budget or proposed it to you guys, the council. But, and Steve can speak for himself, but I think the Water and Wastewater was, and I've talked to Tim too, by the way, Tim Bowden and Greg both, they're going to use specific guys to do certain things. They're not going to use, they're going to use guys, electricians, and folks out there that are more qualified, if you will, to do things at their area. And I respect everybody's thought on that. If they don't think our quote-unquote maintenance guys can handle what they need done at a plant out there, I think that's up to them to decide that. So I'll let them do that. We didn't send somebody out there to just take care of it because they didn't want it. So my goal was to see if they would help pay for the percentage of that. Water Wastewater decided to wait on that. They had a couple of other thoughts. The Parks Department, I think, unless I'm wrong, put $10,000 in their budget to cover their costs, which after we did the figures, actually fell short of how much they used them, according to how much they used them last year to current. So what Ann has done, I believe, in the budget is divvied that up accordingly, and is requesting, or I'm requesting, that the rest of it come out of the general fund. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
Where's that under, what line item is that under? Because I'm looking under streets, I'm not seeing a public works labor. Is that?
No, it'll be to transfer the funds to general fund.
Okay, so they're just transferring it out. It's not as a line item for.
And I would, and also, if you look right under the electric maintenance labor, and that is the gentleman I was referring to as a nice electrician, he was hired in at the street department at $10.25. I'm asking for a lot all at one time. I'm asking to start, and my plan for this, and it's not on this, you're not going to see this in this budget, I don't think it's reflected too well for you, is that Don Oliver, who's obviously in the planning department under Sonny, would manage these two positions. I've seen what tax it is on Brooks and office and her working, so it needs to be somebody that has a little bit, not that Brooke doesn't know how to maintain things, but we decided, we looked around, and I talked to Sonny, and Sonny's good with this, that somebody underneath him would be the go-to guy for them to come to for their POs, or I'm sorry, work orders, and guidance on their daily activities. It has been a little bit, not scattered by any means, but obviously Brooks not going to go out and manage these guys as they're working over at the Senior Citizen Center. Not that they need to be have their hands held, but somebody's got to be in charge. So didn't add any pay raise or anything like that to Don Oliver's position to do it. I just said, and I've already spoken to Don about it, and I said, here's the budget passes as it is. It's my decision to move these two guys underneath you.
So on page 6, where you're showing revenue in, where it says, so this little transfer from water O&M 19,000, that's not it. You're talking about starting like transfer from police 13,000, transfer from street. I'm not reading that right.
Transfer from police 2,500, street 13,000, fire 2,500, parks had 10,000. They had already approved their budget to present to you at that time, and then planning 4,400, and then the remainder would come from general.
So 32,400 of the 57,000 is coming from other departments. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I guess when you're, is Joe going to have to replace 2 people in the streets department?
That's for him to answer. I think he's thinking about replacing one. I think he's already replaced one. Joe, I'll let you speak on that.
No, neither one of those.
So your plan is to hire those 2 fellows that have been doing it, and pay them the amount you quoted here, and 32,000, that's going to come as a feeder from all the other departments, minus water, because they're not going to use them. And moving forward in every budget, adding on,
I would-
be bringing in money from other departments, so we're gonna keep tracking the
Yeah.
percentage
Right.
of
We're
usage.
gonna
and
evaluate.
Each year we'll do this.
Right.
In fact, I would prefer to come back to you, we'll check it very often, if not quarterly, weekly, monthly, whatever, but I want to get back to you and report on how this is working, because it's kind of a work in progress.
But the bottom line for the general fund is more like, 25,000. Correct?
Correct, with the exception of then their
Although really-
insurance then comes over.
Yeah, and although really we're giving it to police, and police are just giving it back to us, because police ultimately comes out of the general. And same with planning, and same with parks, right? So really, a bigger percentage of it's coming out of general.
Back to how this is working. So this is an experiment that you started last year. So last year, we spent $71,094 on this. So
That's what
from
we
a
would have
business,
spent. Last year, we didn't spend anything on
No.
it. We just,
Could you
street
explain
just
these
did.
on the bottom, what these numbers?
Street just
the
did.
cost to have these two guys would be $71,000. So what were we spending before? So what are we saving over using local vendors, using Mike Gossett, Butch Bean to fix a little stuff here, the local electrician to do a little? How much were we spending before we had these two guys that we paid $71,000 for this?
Let's be clear, we didn't pay them 71,000.
We didn't pay them $71,000. The street.
We were doing it ourselves, the street department was doing all the repairs ourselves.
And in Parks Department, our guys were changing ballast and light bulbs and
So it's,
And that's the way it's been going on for
You're only
forever.
stuff. Not qualified, not necessarily.
But this
They
year.
weren't-
we're
Doing electrical work that-
For the senior
We're
center.
not like
We're
you're.
already,
Which is a one-off kind of deal, hopefully. Hopefully we're not gonna every year have to keep doing all this work on the
Hopefully
senior
not.
center. I just,
you were already spending the money, because they were already in his
yeah,
budget.
but it's different, because the general fund is always poor, the poorest of what we deal with.
Right.
And so we're fixing to add, moving forward for years and years to come, 60,000 in salary out of the general fund.
You're not gonna sign a contract to do that forever and ever, if you
Well, at
pass,
some point, we're gonna tell these, we're gonna lay these guys off, because we can't afford them, or we're gonna move them.
you would look back, I mean, my plan is to look at the end of, toward the end of the year, and look and see how it's worked, and if the general fund.
how do we measure the effectiveness if we can't look the year before and see what we were spending to have some of this fixed, and now we know that it would have been $70,000, versus just calling somebody, calling a local guy that's in business, that's trying to pay taxes and do things like Lance, myself.
There's not a whole lot of guys out there that you can call, I mean, you can call an electrician to change a light bulb.
There's a lot of
There's
electricians.
hours. There's definitely a lot of them, but not many will come and change, maintain. My goal was, and believe me, I know it's costing, it's gonna be a cost deal, but is to maintain the facilities. The better you maintain something, and I think everybody on this.
I'm all for it, I just hate for being in the general.
Well, I guess that's what I said, if you're,
I'd rather be under street.
how does the work order process
The
work?
concern,
Or
well, the
somewhere else.
concerns with that was audit reasons, because we're using protected auditing, or protected street funds to make repairs on retirement center. Or police.
I guess I'll
How
cross
much
that
do
bridge
you
when I get to
anticipate having to work
it.
on the, how much, so last year, there was 239 hours worked on the senior center. In 2014, how many hours did we work on the senior center?
We did not keep track of it in 14.
In 2013, how many did we work? I can tell you, it's
There was
zero.
hardly any,
Zero.
which is why they didn't
Right,
spend
but
so
I
much
have a
time.
feeling in 2017 and 2018, moving forward, we may not have to work 300 something hours on senior center.
I guess what I'm looking at though is that, you're still getting two guys, but they're gonna be supervised, again, like you're saying, or managed by Dawn. And so we're just moving it from supervision from Dawn, or from Joe to Dawn. But also, I mean, where are their supplies coming from? Is there the supply on here in this budget? Are they
Every
gonna
department
be-
pays for their own supplies. The things that are done in City Hall comes out of maintenance repair building in City Hall. The things that are maintained at the senior center comes out of what you guys they have their own maintenance.
So where's the truck coming from that they use?
Right now, it's the street department's truck.
Well, that's my point exactly. I mean, to me, I just see more stuff, I mean, in order to, if you're gonna do it county-wise and stuff, you know, I'd assume, say, we need to keep it under streets and stuff, because, I mean, that's where the equipment is that they need to use to do these
The
things.
truck,
I think.
the truck.
The truck, or,
You do realize that whether we're at that, technically at that bridge or not, we are getting closer to that. When you said a minute ago, we'll cross the bridge when we get there, the auditors remind us every year, the street department funds are street department funds. Now, do they argue with us? Do we get written up every single year for using his money to do maintenance on other things? We get close. And so I'm just trying to put something in place to see if it works, to try it out. And the best question that I've heard that concerns me and has from the beginning, and I talked about it to the guys that are in these two floating positions, is what happens if it's not fundable?
Yeah, that's my big question. We're gonna try this out with 2 people's lives.
It's neat. I can promise you, if you ask me, and I don't know that you are yet, but if you ask me as the manager, and I kind of consider myself the manager of all these facilities, and we're talking about a lot of facilities and and I say light bulbs, don't take that lightly. I mean, there's a whole lot of things. We have the work orders somewhere, and I want to see that. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're maintaining. And there's just a whole lot of little things that the reason I started this. One was to not have to call the street department that should be out working on the streets to pull two guys away. One guy, it's not always, doesn't have to be two, one guy away to go over to the senior center and spend a half a day or 2 days. And you're right, there's always that option of calling the local fixer-upper guy. You can do that. But if you have employees in place and they're part of the city and they're checking every day with these department heads, by the way, if they don't have a work order, I have strong, we've sat and talked about this. You go to these departments and you check it, you go, whether Greg's gonna use them to do something real specific, they still need to go out there sometime and look and check on things that they want them to check on. It's just a whole lot of buildings in the Parks Department. I mean, I think Richard could vouch for all the uses that he uses them for. So it's not I don't have it down to the nitty gritty.
Do you have it down enough to feel confident that this is the right thing to do with this budget right now, or do you feel like you need more time to look at it?
The only, I'm pretty confident. I would have not left it either if I wasn't pretty confident trying to get it right.
but I agree with what Dr. Lee said, though, but we're just kind of making a circle. I mean, we're, you know, giving money to the police, they're gonna give it right back.
That's what we,
the
I still say
park,
we do it that
right
way.
do that anyway.
Keep up
That's
with
how it
it,
works.
moving forward, but
My only caution about it is what I think AC was alluding to earlier. We worked out a deal to lease the old bank for $1, and now we have a maintenance issue ongoing. And it becomes, what it can turn into real easy is 2 guys turns into the maintenance department, right? I mean, I think that's where and maybe I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do, because
you're talking about
I
that
agree
next
with
part
the mayor.
of the center.
The city is growing, we're getting more buildings, we're getting more things, I understand what things happen, but the next thing you know, we have a department that has a truck, that has an office, that has all of these things, Well, maybe that's what it needs to be, I don't know, but I think that's what you live and learn.
I will tell you too, and regarding the senior citizen center, they have X amount of dollars. We've already run across this. Well, we're there, we know how it is. They have, you allow so much, we have a contract with, which is an interesting contract, by the way, with that center. And I'm not saying it's a bad contract, it's interesting. But you pay them, give them so much money, and they also have X amount of dollars for maintenance. Now, I visited with our city attorney not too long, it's been several months ago, and I said, listen, I keep getting calls, because I know things can snowball and become a whole different thing than what I thought. I was getting calls on maintaining their vehicles. Okay, well, that's kind of new, it's certainly new to the finance department, and I allowed it a couple of times, and I got to looking at the contract, and the contract basically agrees to keep them in business. Now, that's my quote, my take, but that's what it said, keeping them in business. And so that could be, and Mike told me, That could be their vehicle if you want it to be, if they want it to be. Once that 20, I want to use the number, very wrong, $2,500 is gone. If they used it all on maintaining the vehicle, they don't have any more money to stop the rough leak. So we watch that very carefully. It's not something that we're just ignoring for sure. And, I thought you were saying that they could turn into maintenance guys just for that building. If you just they can, but they have dollars now.
Daniel, to your question too, the truck is already in place, it can be transferred over. We have the office space for them if they need to sit down and do paperwork. So that's not going to be an expense. That's already in place, so just want to throw that out.
I think we probably have the resources through the city to make the department, if that's what we choose.
Yeah, like I said, we've got facilities right now that, in my office, there's a desk and for them. Like I said, the truck is available, transfer that over from one to the other. And, if it doesn't work out, we can kick them out and do something else.
But I guess I see that, there at the bottom of page 7, that we basically, in the whole 99,000, and part of it looks at that and says, well, that's easily, 75,000 of it is this maintenance crew right here.
Yeah, it's a cost. It's not a.
I just worry about sustainability and, we're gonna, but I'm okay with it. I'm trusting your judgment there. I would be okay with putting it in the budget and see how it works. I wouldn't want you guys taking up jobs, because if the estimated balance for 2016 is 330,000, and we don't do anything different, then in 2017, that's gonna be 230,000. And in 2018, that'll be 130,000, and in 2019, that'll be 30, and in 2020, we don't have enough money, and somebody's gonna get laid off somewhere.
Well, I think those would be the first two guys.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that might be, I don't know, we'd have to, 2020, there's a lot of things that happen between now and then. I'm just saying, we're on that moves us that much closer to a time where we don't have enough money to sustain the budget we're having,
I don't have a lot of answers for that. I mean, that can happen anyway. You certainly, I know, I agree with you totally. You take $75,000 out of there, and you
Well,
go.
it's different with capital expenditure. You spend it once you're done.
Well, you take $75,000 out of that, you can back it up and go one more year.
Well, you get more than that, 20,000.
Well, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you were setting it up that way. And I don't think I feel comfortable. That was the question. Is it perfect? Certainly not. The truck is an issue that we didn't budget for a new truck or anything like that. I mean, I can promise you, these guys are gonna want all that good stuff, but that's not gonna happen. This is a trial and error thing.
I guess also, when I'm just going to look at your hourly analysts and estimates, to me, you're showing have all the hours that they've worked, and the actual hours, because it says February to October is 1560. And you're saying the estimated annual hours is 2080. And still, to me, that boils down to one man.
2080 is the number of hours
That's in a
that you
year.
work in a year.
You just estimated February, October, that's not a full year.
Right, but then here's annualized to be 2080. So I would still say 2080 is one man. And I'm saying we're funding two men, where again, I'm saying that, yes, I definitely agree. If we have stuff, we need to maintain it and stuff, but really, in some ways, by your estimation, that we're just kind of, over the course of the year, or in just one man, from the street department. And to me, to create a whole new department.
Right, I mean, if you do 40 hours on 52 weeks, that's 80 hours. You're really going to justify one full-time employee, not two.
But these number of hours is two people each working that number of hours.
Two people each working.
In other words, that's 13, right? 20.
So you're saying
3,000.
What you did here was,
It's one-
this is the estimated number of hours that we're going to use of maintenance, correct?
Yeah, there are 10.
Yes, and they're a team, they do everything together. There's always two people.
And you want to keep in mind too, on electrical work,
Safety
you're in a basket, you have to have a ground person with the person in the air. Those are, those are safety issues that are not usually negotiable.
I would, and again, I don't know that I'm need to, I don't know that I'm supposed to. I mean, the comments and concerns that I've heard from council for a couple of years, I mean, not just as mayor, but certainly as a department head, was we keep building and making and building, and we don't really, truly have that maintenance thought process. I know Lance has mentioned it a couple of times, we have plans for the maintenance of it. I was the department head, not really. I mean, we didn't know what the utility bill were going to be. We just built a police department that's, and by the way, that would include that building, obviously.
I think originally the term department head was kind of more of a working, I don't know exactly what all the department heads do, is specifically each one of them's job description, but I think, for instance, when you were the parks director, we just assumed you would go up there and whatever, change a light bulb or whatever. I mean, that was what I always just thought that,
Sure, and I did. And so is he.
right. I mean, so that's why I don't know why we need to carry on more salaries when.
Not every department has that opportunity. I mean, my department, when I was in Richard's place, and that's been pointed out very clearly, that he has two full-time, and some part-time help, and you do have, Will doesn't have that time, the other ones, Steve or Joe doesn't have the time to do that. I use the term light bulb. There's air conditioners. I don't know how many air conditioners we have. Again, they can be hired. You can hire somebody. We've gone that route. We've tried that route. I'm not excited, to be honest with you, and not pleased with that route of hiring.
You know, as we grow, we definitely see we'll have maintenance people. And that's true with companies I deal with. But smaller companies seem to prefer to sign maintenance contracts as a cheaper alternative to starting to hire people. It gets kind of expensive on smaller companies just to do maintenance. It just seems expensive to me. This just seems like it's, I worry about the sustainability of it. It seems expensive, and I think that we maybe haven't explored all the other alternatives. You sign a maintenance contract for the entire city for heating and air. You sign a maintenance contract with the electrical company for electrical services.
I just don't feel like there's enough work in a day to keep these two gentlemen busy. I guess probably kind of piggyback off what Rod's saying. I don't know who the two guys are that are doing it right now. I have no clue. I mean, and they may be tied up from daylight to dark, but it just seems to me like, as far as maintenance goes, I mean, surely everything we have not fallen apart that much. We've got to have two guys on call.
Is it fair to ask,
We hire one and then let him be backed up by the street for now and see how it goes.
is it fair to ask you to track it for another 3 months and come back to us? Or-
Sure.
I like, kind of Rob's idea. I mean, have we pursued actual, kind of like, here we are, we're talking about I guess it's VCR or whatever.
It definitely goes both ways. I mean, the school just hired their own heating and air person because they felt like they were paying way too much for contract and maintenance. It didn't feel like they were getting out of it what they wanted to get out of it. So there's definitely pros and cons each way.
And they're probably grown to the point that they can sustain them.
Well, I don't know, they're any bigger than what we've got. I mean, we've got
A lot bigger.
Well, I mean,
5 schools, 6 roofs.
yeah.
Well, I just think that if we were contracting it, it would definitely show a cost that we could follow. And usually kind of like you said, the school has contracting, and then they finally said, oh, here we received this history, it's growing every year. Now we can transfer that over.
They still have in-house maintenance guys in each of those schools. They have not contracted out total. I mean, no, they have guys. I mean, my wife's teacher at East Point, they have guys.
Yeah.
I was just mentioning the heating and air because I know it's something they just want.
It's the council's decision, obviously. I wouldn't. I don't really need to be, I don't want to sound tacky or whatever, but I'm constantly trying to figure out my position and what you rely on me to.
No, I think
be
this
administrative.
is important, I think bringing it to this is important.
No,
This is the
no.
first debate we've had about it, the first talk we've had about it.
No,
It's fair.
It's about what you need me to be in charge of, I guess is what I'm saying. Those
We need you
decisions.
to be in charge of coming to us with requests for something like that, and that's to kind of decide as financial
Sure.
fiduciaries, you know, the ones financially responsible to, is this something we think is sustainable, is it a smart?
I will tell you,
I agree with that.
it's not flippant, and I use that word sometimes, and everybody knows what that means, but it wasn't let's just toss this up in the air, and we require these guys to keep these hours and
I mean,
and keep up with
this
it.
conversation started because this was the first opportunity I had to ask that particular question. I had a few questions about the budget. This was one of my questions. This is the first opportunity to ask it. I'm not saying I'm gonna vote against it.
No,
I'm just wanting, I mean, that's what the purpose of this is that if there's things in this budget that I wanna, that I have questions about, an extra 59,000 in salary.
I assume
I'm
that you
not
asked.
doing my job if I don't ask about that, you know, and get you to justify it. So
That's absolutely
I think
right.
it's definitely your job to bring it to me, and it's definitely my job to question it, and then we, as a group, make a decision.
Well, I was just thinking, with what Ronnie said, if we look at somebody, I mean, service contracts, if we could say, we want your services where you check in with us, you know, a half a day each week. And then if it is electrical, you know, so, oh yeah, we need to go to the police station, change out these bulbs, or, you know, need to go over here to the, you know, city hall, do this, you know, if it's an electrical nature, you know, if it's the heating and air, you know, so, you know, they need to, you know, change out these filters, or, you know, winterize it, or whatever, winter,
So,
sunrise.
AC, is this a sticking point for you in the budget? If this is in the budget, or are you saying, are you gonna draw a line and say, I'm not gonna vote for the budget with this in there, or are you willing to leave it in?
Well, let me ask one question of council, if you don't mind. Joe, can you step up here for a second?
Sure. Mayor, you might also mention that they've operated as backup to code enforcement or animal control.
Do what, I'm sorry?
They've also acted as backup for animal control.
That's true. I don't know how much time is involved in here, and it may show on this chart. Is it on here or not?
It's in their little box thing,
In there what?
in their little breakdown.
Do I have that? Okay, I'm sorry, I guess you may or may not have this. 148 recycling center hours.
What is that you're looking at?
This is just a block breakdown of those hours. But what Sonny was talking about was there was a time period that we did not have a code enforcement animal control officer. These two guys also took on those duties, so that's part of those hours. The reason I brought you up here was, and I'm just maybe way off here, because I thought this was part of my thought process, and I may have lost it, was that, and I think the questions come right back to you. If you are planning on replacing these two employees from your department, then we are certainly looking at a $72,000
These
addition.
are places in the streets, it doesn't matter, streets can afford it.
But the point is, if the total budget, I understand what you're saying, but if, as a total balanced budget, if you will, or unbalanced budget, if he's not replacing them, then I know the money keeps coming out of
Doesn't
general.
matter, because he can't send us that money.
Which is the thought you should have, that he shouldn't be spending it on to begin with. And
No, I understand the auditor's question, I understand the question of the auditor, I understand what you're trying to say.
Okay.
I don't mind.
I mean, in the big picture thing, you're not spending that much more. If you're replacing one, then you're spending half of it more. If he's not replacing anybody,
I don't agree with what you're saying there,
Okay.
that's okay, it's apples and oranges and the money piles.
well,
But I understand what you're saying from an auditor standpoint and why you're trying to do this.
Okay.
From a total,
Right,
from
right.
a grand total, I understand.
Okay, that's a
We could,
futile point.
we could,
Yeah,
according to the auditor issue, we just go on and on and on this way, and we'd be great, because there's enough revenue coming in the streets.
I would like to see this. I think it's something that I looked at hard, and Joe and I talked about it a long time. I think it's a good idea. Is it all wrapped up real pretty?
Y'all didn't like my idea of hiring one to see what happens?
I'm okay with it the way it is. If you want to know, I was fixing to just kind of ask everybody's opinion. I'm okay with it the way it is. I just wanted some explanations and try to understand why we're doing it.
Thank you, Joe.
AC, where are you at with it?
Thank you, Joe.
Glad to be able to help.
Well, I guess in some ways I would like to see us, I mean, yeah, this is pretty good documentation here, but And I agree with what you're saying, I guess, yeah, every time you have to have, two people. But I would say, and there's a lot of times you don't have to have two people. I mean, only when you're using the, cherry picker or whatever, it's need two people and stuff.
Yeah, if you hire one, you're gonna have to borrow somebody from the street department, so you're right back where you started.
Right, and,
Well, but if you hire just the one, if you're gonna hire one, we hire the maintenance labor and not the electrician, the electric maintenance labor?
You hire the electric.
The electrician,
To Richard's point, I'm interrupting, I'm sorry. Cherry picker for sure, you don't put somebody up in a cherry picker truck
Or even a 20-foot
without,
ladder.
but if you're reaching into an
Electrical,
outlet.
anything like that.
I recently had these two maintenance guys go out and put outlets on the outside of our building that we didn't have, and we have to have them, no, but it seems to make sense to have outside outlets. I don't want those guys doing that either. I mean, can they? Sure. I've got a brother-in-law in Texas that loves to crawl up and get in the middle of stuff. He's an electrician for 100 years.
But a shop rate for electricians is probably gonna be around $60 an hour per person. Right. They have, when I contracted out for the pavilion last year for a complicated issue, and I dropped close to $1,000 in one day. And that's it, and that's,
but I mean, you don't need $1,000 every day, though.
no,
What,
but 4 or 5 days like that, and
It's
that's,
not a sticking point to me. I'm happy with the budget. If everybody's happy with it, we'll move on, but I think that the $75,566 that there's local painters and local electricians, local heating and airs, local people. And I don't think that was spent before we started this. I don't think it's been justified to me that we were spending $100,000 or $150,000 having a painter come in here, having an electric company come in here and replace the ballast and all that. I don't believe that's been justified to me. I think it's unsustainable in the long run for right now. I just think it's expensive. I think it's expensive. I think there's a lot of local companies who would like to have the $75,000 that are part of our community. But it's not a sticking point to me. I'll pass it, but it's not one of those things where I'm voting against the budget.
so you want to have just one employee, is that where you're at?
No, I mean, I guess because that's the bad thing about calling them BSR, but I kind of heard that and said, well, why couldn't you find somebody that you could contract with and say, hey, we want you to come by here, a half a day a week, and just wherever we direct you to, that's what we direct you to. I mean, there might be somebody out there to do that, on a contract basis, and then it builds up and says, oh, we need you a whole day a week, and all of a sudden we can kind of see that.
That's when you really consider we need to put our own call.
What's the sticking point for you?
Well, I guess it is when I kind of look down here and say,
That's
well,
okay,
yes,
I
it's
just
in
am
there.
trying to know so we can know which direction to go. What about down there, where we think?
I agree 100% with what Rod said.
You think we ought to wait? And look at contracting it out, and see how much that costs us, and revisit this issue?
Well, I don't understand how we've gotten by with it in the past without these two guys. We obviously have gotten by without two gentlemen on staff. I agree that at some point, the city will grow enough where we're gonna need it, our in-house maintenance men, but I'm not down there holding their hands, I'm not holding anybody's hands, that matter that works the city, but I just feel like I have trouble thinking there's enough work to keep these guys busy from 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever the hours are. That's my only, and I'm not gonna go on a ride around and follow them around and take pictures like some citizens have done before. But, I mean, that's my only deal, is it seems to me like kind of like what Rod's saying, there's probably now, and the availability of a local guy may be different too. I don't know if there's a local guy may never be available if we have some kind of breakdown right now.
Or a local guy may cost us $60 an hour instead of
Right.
$50 or whatever.
But $60 an hour for 3 days, that's
No benefits.
right, and so you're in your out, whatever that is,
$500.
$500.
60, you just tell him to go home. You don't have to lay somebody off whose family's dependent upon you at this point.
What do you think, Richard?
I agree. I mean, I think that I agree with is it sustainable? I don't know. But, I mean, I think the feeling I get from these department heads and from the mayor, obviously, is that it can be done, that it's needed. And I'm willing to trust their opinion. Because because they're the guys that work here every day. And so, it's not a sticking point for me. I'm not gonna vote against the motion because of it. I think it's something we need to watch closely because I think that's what all of us are concerned about. Is that sustainable? Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. It seems to me the worst thing that could happen is they go back to the street department. Right? If you don't need this maintenance guy 6 months from now, you go back to work for Joe and drive a lawnmower.
Not if he backfills their position.
Yeah, Joe.
Well, that goes back to, are you gonna fill these two positions?
Right away, I do not plan to.
Would y'all be more comfortable if we didn't leave this in the budget and left it for 3 to 6 months and asked the mayor to continue to track these hours, which are new to us, that we're just seeing for the first time tonight, hadn't seen before when you give it to us with the budget, and then revisit it in a few months? And
Or leave it in the budget and, let's understand, don't fill both of those positions until we feel confident.
okay.
3 months, 6 months, whatever.
So if we did it that way, we'd expect you to report back to us and,
6 months?
yeah, with an idea of how many hours these guys really work, and somebody has to be tracking.
Or maybe every quarter, come back in 3 months?
Yeah,
Every quarter.
are you okay not filling those jobs for holding that position for a few months and to see how it's working?
Of
Would
course,
that be okay, Steve?
well, on the other side of that, I would just like to try, again, Rod's way to say, hey, is there somebody out there? I don't know if we've ever really pursued that, and you just say, we'd like to, have you 4 hours a week. I mean, sometimes people will go with that and say, I'll do 4 hours a week, knowing that it's kind of guaranteed, again, like this DCR thing, and I'll be available. And, I don't know if we've ever really pursued that. Now, somebody says, oh, yeah, we'd like to have you on, and we just kind of go on an as-needed basis. Well, they say, oh, yeah, I don't really like that deal. But they say, yeah, we'll guarantee you, 4 hours a week or whatever, at this, contracted rate. That might be something that somebody would certainly do. And I think, I'd like to maybe see, pursue that.
I think the only problem with that's gonna be getting a DCR that'll take care of everything that's gonna need to be handled.
You're gonna
Whether
have
it be
to have 4 or 5
electrical, plumbing,
DCRs, yeah,
painting, yes, that's right.
so.
And at the drop of a hat.
Well, not really at the drop of a hat. I mean, DCR doesn't necessarily drop of a hat. I mean, they come by.
If your toilet stopped up, you want somebody here quick.
And again, they back up animal control.
So if the toilet stopped up, but still, if the toilet stopped, you get somebody, some other street partner or somebody, Trey, when he breaks down there.
I run a plunger.
What?
I run a plunger.
I've done it. I got it.
Give me a call.
If the council is not, I don't suspect that I didn't suspect that this was going to be a full, everybody loves it type thing. If the council feels comfortable not pursuing it right now, we go to the other side of this, and I continue to use these guys, if you will. And I know he's the gentleman that's not going to be thrilled that it continues to stay as it is in the street department, and we leave it just like it is, and then we come back and report it like that in 6 months. I'm okay to do that. I don't, this is not going to kill me by any means. I am certainly concerned. I don't want to put these guys out on a limb that's going to break them. They're gone.
I think, Ian, from
They've
an
been here too
auditing
long.
standpoint, now that we're tracking this, if we're gonna do it that way, then there needs to be transfers back into street for the hours that they're spending away from street. And that way, we're all safe on the auditing standpoint. So now that we're tracking all these hours, if we're gonna do that, then for 2016, as we use them out of street, let's come to us and say, hey, I need a resolution. This way we can track it too. You bring us a resolution. Parks used the street guys for 27 hours this week for maintenance. I need to put so much from parks back into streets. And that way, that's a good way for us to track that as well. And if you're coming to us every month with 6 resolutions from each department to pay streets back for the maintenance, then we have a clearer way of seeing, hey, yeah, this is how much we're actually spending and justifying the position. Does that sound like a good way to move forward with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
That'd be okay, Steve?
well, I
Because we're an auditing
guess,
standpoint, we can't help but do that. We got 1 or 2 choices. Either we use the street guys and pay streets back for it, or we go out and hire somebody, and I don't care which you do. If you hire somebody, you're gonna need to, unless there's that much money in the line out of maintenance already, and let's just say that if you do hire somebody within the city, say you have a plumbing issue and you hire Travis or somebody to come do it, come to us and let us know on a regular, give us a monthly report of maintenance for each month, and let's see how we're doing.
There's some that they're, out there that do, plumbing and heating and air, there's some that do plumbing and.
Yeah,
Because again, I want to be real clear, I appreciate what you're doing. I think all of us do. I think all of us trust you. We're just trying to make
That's
a
fine.
logical
I think that's a good
decision. This
compromise.
keeps us clear with the auditors, and this way we'll have a good idea tracking it, and we can look at maintenance out of it.
I mean, I was just surprised when we kind of put the trash pickup for, out to bid. I mean, there's, all of a sudden, everybody, like they had a pickup, was going to make a bid,
So
I don't know,
are you okay with that
I think
plan if we pull this out and then we just track it moving forward? Basically,
Sure.
Pull that out.
It also makes sense, Charlotte, I'm gonna give her some credit here, she leans over and tells us it makes sense because they can continue to use that equipment because people are paying for his guys to use it. So I think it's all clean.
I want to hear with the auditors, we don't put on the.
It lets me experiment with this and go forward and
I
move on.
think it's good.
Okay.
Oh, the only other question I had on the general budget is, I think Jim, last meeting, recommended a raise for the city attorney. Is that you?
Yes, sir, everything.
So that's not in here, is it?
No, because I was told not to make any changes
Right.
in
So-
what you had received.
So-
But I did
Can I back up
spend
before we get away from
2,500.
this?
Sure.
I hate to beat the dead horse, but the one thing, you've got, maintenance and repair building, 14,385, 65,405, page, 11.
12, 11.
So we got this money budgeted in all these departments for maintenance and repairs, right?
That is to pay for things on the building. If the air conditioner breaks, that
Materials, mostly.
material is what that is.
None of that,
That's not.
none of that's affected by these laborers.
No.
I mean, the one thing in that 65,405 is heat and air inspection / maintenance, 700 times 4.
Right. That was a contract
That is
we
it,
had, we currently,
Reserve for repairs, $4,500.
I mean,
in case something, in case we have to replace an air
well, if
conditioning.
one of these
unit or
guys is
something.
HVAC's licensed or whatever, then there's $2,800 we save right there.
I don't know what that kind of on that contract is. I've looked at it. And are you familiar with it?
We don't have one, we're trying, that's the one you were trying to get somebody to bid, and that was the last price we had.
Okay.
But we're having
So
problems
we put
getting
that in
people.
the
You're right,
budget.
that-
Put that
I
new.
mean, I don't know that any of us are confident enough to agree or disagree about any of it, frankly.
Yeah.
But I think what Lee's suggesting and what we've kicked around here is, let's do a better job of keeping up with what all that is. You got the cost of the person, you've got the cost of materials. What are we allocating those costs to? Which building, which structure, and all those things. And then maybe you have a better budget.
And
Maybe everything in maintenance, in fact, becomes its own budget, and then it's separated out by what it's for, right?
yeah,
Maintenance of the fire station, maintenance of the police station.
for instance, and again, I don't worry about it, I'll look real quick, but the maintenance on the senior citizen center, there is an X amount of dollars that is allocated to them for running.
$2,500.
How much? So there's $2,500 that's used for,
I'd like to see the total maintenance bills on
yeah,
that.
so, and then we're gonna get that to you.
For 14?
Just always usually that.
Well, for a long time,
That's nothing.
There was nothing done.
For about 10 years, we didn't spend much on it
Kristen
at all.
will email
Now
it
we're
to you.
making up.
Yeah.
And that's why it got in the shape.
So we're all in agreement, we're going to get some kind of reporting monthly on
Sure.
maintenance and how much we're using.
Yep.
And then I'm in favor of putting, Daniel and Rod, y'all weren't here, Tim suggested giving a $2,500 raise to the city attorney to bring him from 30,000 to 32.5, wherever he's at. I'm okay with that. AC, do you have any issues with?
Well, yeah, I would still like to just kind of put everything at either like a 0.5% COLA or something like that. Just do a COLA and then let's just come back and look at
I guess,
the salaries.
I guess that, when you have department heads deciding merit, who's doing a great job, who needs a little extra, who's not quite up to the median. I guess for us, we're kind of that person for the city attorney. And to me, you know, we for years have underpaid Mike. And I don't have any issues giving the $25
Speaking of coal, there's no colas in this?
Nope, no.
Yeah.
Are we really underpaying?
Well, I would argue that we are. If you look at how many hours he spends chasing stuff, that's my.
I mean, you did the study on that.
That would get us up to,
The problem is, we're in a place where you start seeing people hire full-time city
you know, we
attorneys.
are at that,
We're at that little, kind of like the fire department, we're that
we're at
little,
that level we could fall over in a minute.
and you hire a full-time city attorney and all of a sudden it's $100,000 instead of 30.
I agree, but paying Mike more money, we're not trying to throw rocks at Mike. If we pay more money to Mike, do we get more work from Mike?
That
Yeah,
goes into where, and him,
I mean,
That's fair
it's a lot, I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's a part-time job. And he gets a part-time salary, and we get part-time legal advice.
we, you know, me and him sat down and I talked to him about it, you know, about performance issues. And, you know, I said, well, the council's gonna be apprehensive about getting you more money because you can retire this minute. And he said, yes. And you'll get half from now on, yes. And his solution to that was, you know, I could do a better job if, he said, I understand your concerns with paying you more and the fact that I could retire immediately.
I mean, are we not getting more now because he doesn't have time and more money gives him more time? You know, we had this discussion a few months ago of a legal
That was his solution.
assistant or whatever.
Pay an assistant, let the assistant do the mundane tasks, and, you know, leave my salary basically as it is, and then we can work on those performance issues.
So is that's not in the budget right now, correct?
An assistant? No.
What happened?
It's just not reflected. We get paid.
I don't know that, if I make a suggestion on this note, it's your meeting and it's about the budget, and I know it's your decisions to make, but I don't know that they want to, but I would take this opportunity to, not to throw stones. Mike's a friend of mine, has been for a long time. I think it's important that you as the council know, and you probably already do, but if any department head would want to give you their 2 cents on, not so much a raise, but the performance, what they are waiting on, what is not in their hands, the things that we don't get. I don't know how else to say it, that's not gonna sound great, but if you wanna hear from them, or if they wanna talk about it. I know there's a lot of department heads that are waiting on things.
Well, yeah, that's where I think we get hung up most of the time. You know, I don't like to just kind of go through the.
And I get it, I don't mean, you know, and I don't want to line everybody up and drag Mike through.
Right, I just want you to be aware
I
of it.
mean, I think it's a legitimate.
Well, can we do this? Let's not,
question.
Tim, would you, I'm just bringing it up because Tim mentioned it, and I don't want to get lost in the conversation. Would you be okay, Tim, with not giving them a raise right now and asking them to come back to us in 2 months with a plan for a legal assistant and restructured legal department budget?
Yeah, they think.
Yeah, so let's do that. Is that okay, guys? We'll leave the raise out. And then we can expect them to come back to us, work with Mike to come up with a plan for possibly hiring, like we talked about a few meetings ago.
Well,
So that leaves the budget the way it is with no raise for Mike right now. I know.
well, I think I like to have the merits back that up here at the top too, you know, I just think like saying, go to 0.5% COLA, and then let's go and address all merits, like that in January. Because again, I think Chief Dawson's right, there's a disparity, and I think that somehow we need to get some uniformity among all that. And I just think just kind of, some, like I said, some people put in merits, and some people haven't, and I think that some people, they didn't know, what to put in, they didn't really have, guidance there. So I think, we did a 0.5% COLA, that is 5 times the Fed rate right now. Take that on to the 1.75 we gave last year, there's a 2.25. And then we go and look at the merit system and see, even like saying with Chief Johnson's, I mean, he had a very detailed, pay scale document, but we said, okay, like, Chief Dawson's, 3% sounds good, we'll just go ahead and add another 2.5, to that. When we do talk about salaries, but I think we get hung up with salaries, and that's usually the longest thing. And I just like to again talk about the big items in the budget right now, to get those things, out of the way, and see how, it's impacted.
So Rob, where do you stand with merits? Do you want to leave them the way they are in the budget, or do you want to take them out?
I agree with AC.
Do you think we should take out the merits across the board, every department, including PD and? Maybe?
I don't know that I agree with that. I mean,
I'm okay with the merits in there right now. the way
I'm
they are.
okay with the merit if we can explain why they're there.
I'm okay with the way they are. I do
That's what I
think
said
we
at
need
the
to
beginning.
revisit them for 2017. I'm not gonna hold up the budget to.
Are we giving a merit to get the pay to what that position should be? Is it a justified increase, whatever, can we explain that? And so, I mean, I see 3%, 6%, it's kind of bouncing around, so what was the methodology that got us to that number, I guess is my.
Yeah, that's what I say, I see some at 6.3%, I see some at 8.3%, I see some at 3%, and so, again, that's.
So that's my question, how did we get there?
So, in the efforts of passing the budget, we what?
No,
I was gonna say,
I asked if you want me to address that. My question to the council is, are you referring to merits for department heads, or are you referring to merits, anything under department head? Because the department heads themselves, or the commissioner, the chairman of those commissions, can answer to those underneath them. The department heads, I will answer to, if that's what you're wanting to know. I would expect that you would. I don't.
so.
Everything that's department head, I put in.
So under general, the first one is director of finance.
Okay.
And that's you.
Yes, sir. Director of Finance, and I don't have it down to the penny. I think it equals about an 8% increase.
Yes, 8.3.
Okay. The increase that I suggested was based on, and I'll just say this as a blanket with all department heads, or all the department heads I put in for, and I spoke to every department head. I did not promote or suggested a raise for every department head. Some department heads thought they were okay where they were. Just because they tell me that doesn't mean I'm going to not suggest a raise for them. But after an understanding conversation, at the end of the day, if you will, that's how we ended up with this number. Go back to the director of finance, and in my opinion, one has done a fantastic job. In my opinion, that's what I have to base merit raises on, suggestions. She's done a good job. There's certainly been no issues with the auditor since she's been in that position back there. I don't know if it's referred to as the cleanest, but we certainly had one of the cleanest for the first year back there. You can go back, and this is discussion between her and I, and certainly can be here too. I think Ann's capable of defending herself and some of this stuff, her education or her degree. I looked at a whole lot of things, and this is just the way I do it. I looked at how she's performing, her education, the way things were run, what the person that was there before her was making, how, all of those things I combined, and that's how I came up with the 8.2, is that what you said?
Yeah, 8.2.
Okay. And also based on similar things, items that Will has looked at, and I don't have it here at hand to you, somebody here might have the municipal leagues chart, if you will, pay scale chart for towns our sizes, our size, average all that. And I don't have a secret formula to give to you other than those are the things that I look at. And I'd have to explain that individually, each one of you, glad to do that. I'm the one that put that number there.
Well, I guess, kind of looking back, in 2013, 2014, we gave the finance director a 7% overall increase. Last year, I think it was just the COLA, 1.75. I'm thinking, you look in the space of, I guess, per years, it comes out to be a 16% increase. And, to me, that's pretty substantial, when you compare it to, either, let's say, you're going to compare it to the minimum and maximum of the range, but also just in general, in 3 years' time, to get a 16%. Again, that's where I was saying, you kind of look at the, all the department heads, has that been, equitable? I mean, are we evaluating all department heads, on the same, on the same basis?
I personally absolutely do. I take the same considerations I talked about with Ann for Will and all of them. I don't compare those two salaries to each other, and I don't compare to an addition of, and I'm not, if it's 16% over 3 years, by the way, I have nothing to do with those other ones, as you well know, but I'm looking at what's in place now and where I think that directorship should be at this point. I don't at all disagree with this. I absolutely do not. I'll be the first one to tell you in the world that do I consider what she should be. In other words, if any percent across the board, department heads, does not make sense to me whatsoever. I'll just say that out loud into the whole world. There's no, I feel like, and I've only been there a short time, but just because a 2% raise is given to the Department of Finance 1 year does not mean that Chief Dawson deserves 2%, because his performance is not her performance, her department is not his, and vice versa. I look at them all separate. I don't think, somebody can tell me different, but that's how I look at it. So I don't consider that part of it at all.
I think that's right. I mean, to me, I think what you need to be looking at is not what Chief is looking at, which is what a comparable finance director or planning director or chief of police or what are these people making in other communities similar to ours in size and workload. And we need to be in step with and not out of step with that.
Well, I've never been a big fan of the in-step with people of our size and all that. What I am in favor of is what we did with the police department as far as what would you call this, the patrolman. We topped out their pay.
Yeah.
As a guy that's worked in my profession for however many years, we have top out pays. Because at the rate we're going now, in about 15 years, every department had to make $100,000. So I need to get an application put in a hurry down here for the city of Greenwood. I mean, I appreciate what they're all doing. And I like every department head we have, but the problem I have with the pay for some department heads is I don't think the position demands that much money. Now, I know nothing about parks or finance or planning or any of that, but it just seems like, I mean, there's got to be a ceiling is my whole deal. Even with the fire and police chiefs, there's got to be a ceiling. I mean, it's an unbelievable amount of money some folks are making down here. Maybe I'm totally off by saying that. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like it's just spinning out of control almost. We keep paying stuff off, and yet all the wages keep going way up, and then we're worried about 2 maintenance guys that's going to be whatever, and they may sink us. I mean, by 2020 or whatever. I mean, so it just seems something doesn't add up correctly to me. I don't understand. I mean,
There is a top hat, and that's what we talked about, you guys brought up earlier, and certainly, again, we're working hard on this. When I say we, it's not me, it's all of these people that are working hard and trying to figure out, and Will, Chief suggested that we, and I've said it myself, I've told everybody this, the Greenwood does not have a really good way of doing these raises, or not giving raises. You gotta look at both ways.
there's a good way of doing it. So just give a percentage cold every year and forget the merit stuff.
But you said there's a ceiling. Where do you base that ceiling on?
The top out on your scale.
Okay, well then, but I'm saying.
Does it change? Absolutely, so does
But
everything.
but you should still kind of gravitate toward the middle, I mean, that's to me, as far as, again,
It's
I
okay to
supervise
stay
well,
in
it's
hands
not right
out
to-
there.
Why would you how can you say generally gravitate? If you have a department head that's 25 years into the department head, why would you not pay him what he should be making at the top of the run? If you can afford it, the city can afford it.
Right.
There's never, I didn't throw stuff in here, by the way, that I don't feel that we could afford. I say that, and I'm only one person, and you're the one making a decision. You asked me for a balanced budget, and I presented one. So what you have in front of you is a balanced budget. It's not perfect, and there's more money spent here and there.
What's in the general fund left over? I haven't even,
Estimated,
yeah, we always try to have $500,000 or 350,000. How much?
330,000 at the end of 2016.
we never come to a consensus on what that magic number is, and I mentioned this last year, we kinda got some.
In fairness to everybody, we're moving forward. It's not like we're taking
I'm not-
one step forward, two steps
Absolutely.
back.
You're-
We're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. These are some of the more constructive budget talks we've ever had. We're not focusing on every little item. This is a real issue. Talk about, are we going to give raises? Those raises are, once we do them, they're done, in perpetual. They're forever and ever. We'll move to these salaries unless you start cutting pay, which is really tough. So, those are all fair things to talk about.
I'm just saying
You're
there's
right, we hadn't come to a consensus before on how much should be in reserve, but at least we're talking about it.
no reason to say that the finance director of Greenwood, Arkansas's top pays 60,000. Wherever she gets there, she gets there, or he gets there, he gets there. If he or she moves on to another job, the next person gets hired in, comes in at about whatever the pay is. We have this deal of coming in, hired in right at the top, where if the police chief gets fired tomorrow for harassing somebody and illegally shooting somebody, and we're gonna bring the next police chief in his pay, I have a hard time with that, unless he's just came right out of New York City and.
And I'm not suggesting that.
I know that, but I'm just saying, that's what I'm saying, I don't see why you can't sit down and have a scale of where the top pay tops out. At my job, I'm topped out now, I'll never get more than what I'm making right now. So, there you are, but
Unless somebody raises that top, which can happen.
the minimum will get raised, but
Huh?
the minimum's getting raised, but the maximum's not getting raised.
I worked in a factory for 10 years myself, 1,000 years ago, and that scale changed. I'm not arguing.
Well, that was you were union labor.
I want to make sure that everybody knows I'm not arguing. I'm just, when I'm asking.
I just like to see a ceiling on pay. I would like to see a ceiling on pay.
So for this
I
budget,
just, I don't know why,
this
But I think with the mayor, just like saying, you're just, 2 years in, and sometimes you don't look at the progression, of salaries and where they've gone, and so I don't know if you've seen that, 2013, 2014, that there was a 7% increase to that position,
But just to say that and use that as a basis to not give a raise later, where was that, why was that raised that much? Was there not a reason?
Yes, we all looked at the salary surveys and tried to get it up there.
So you had a legitimate reason to put it there. There's nothing to say the very next year, you may not have another legitimate reason to put it there. To go back and say because 4 years ago or 2 years ago, there was a big raise, that you don't get another one, that's.
Well, I think in some ways you do when you look and say, okay, now we have pushed it to the top end.
If you've done that, yeah, absolutely.
And so 55,000 brings it up to the top end, because I see here the max range is 56,685. And so you're pushed up there.
Are you looking at the 10-year?
I hate to give big chunk raises because the next year I'm gonna say, well, she shouldn't get a raise at all, or he shouldn't get a raise at all.
I put in what I thought was correct, my assumptions, and the balance, so that's y'all's. And you want to address it, you should or want to? Do it, I'm sorry.
As a council, do y'all want to hash out all these, do y'all want to try to get all this hashed out in the way of raises before we pass the budget? Or do we want to pull it out, pass the budget, and then look at it later on in the year and then retrospectively pay these guys? Or do we want to give all this as a bonus, not as a raise? And that way it's not something we have to sustain moving forward, but we can just give it one time and then we can look at it again.
Does that include the parks director?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the parks right too, yes, I want to include the, all, departments.
Not the man himself, the position.
Yeah, position.
Because I'm catching heat, but people think I don't like Richard McKinney. It has nothing to do with Richard McKinney. It has nothing to do with the position of Parks Director from the last meeting we had. So I want to make that clear on record that I have nothing against Richard McKinney.
I think it needs to be like all departments.
Somebody like Richard.
My gripe was the fact that I didn't think the Parks Director of Greenwood, Arkansas demanded $50,000 a year.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
on that? And the reason, that wasn't a request on my part. There's pending legislation out there that's gonna require everybody that makes less than, and help me out here, 50,000, 400,
It's just out of the.
Pardon?
940,
but for an annual salary.
440.
Yeah, I think it was $50,400. If you make less than that, you're gonna be required to pay overtime. And it's the legislation that came in to help the McDonald's managers, that are being worked 80 hours.
You have overtime as a parks director?
Absolutely. Yes, probably 20 hours a week, easy.
What was the
Do
question?
I work overtime?
He said there's a
Probably,
PD.
with all respect,
One of the
for me
reasons-
for about a week.
No, he said, do you
One of
get
the reasons, one of
overtime?
the.
Now, do I get overtime?
No, I said you work a lot of overtime.
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Yes, I do.
So we need to get you like we're doing with the maintenance guy, do the comp time route, which would be better for both parties, I would think.
Legally is what we're talking about here. It may not, that option, but.
But they're giving us pending legislation, you know, I think that that's still.
I'm not worried about legislation.
Yeah,
We're legislators.
I think that's to be brought up in, we talk more about salaries and discussions, or in depth, you know, later on.
Well, then, if that's the case, then why, what overtime does he have at work? Why not swap the badge at 8 and leave at 4?
Because he's got things to do. And but as soon as Brooke gets back, I want her to, because I actually missed out on her explaining that law. And I want you to understand this law that is pending, it is not, she'll tell you and can tell you, and the Parks Commission based their initial suggestion, if you will, for a raise for Richard based on this pending law that may come down the pike.
It's not gonna pass until 2016 if it passes, which wouldn't go into effect until 2017.
I'm not, thank you.
We've all heard.
They based the original thought of giving him that raise when that passes, and then as the park, and I'm trying to speak for Parks Commission.
So this is not a merit raise, it's something on hopefully pending legislation.
It is a merit raise.
It's just to get him up over 50,000 because there's pending legislation.
But as they were told, and Brooke informed that commission 2 days later, 3 days later, whatever, exactly what you just said, Mr. Radrick, this is probably not gonna happen in 2015, maybe 2016. And the Parks Commissions, and we're talking about him, anyway, I don't want to cloud everything else. They said that he should be making that anyway. That's the Parks Commission's recommendation. That's exactly what they said. So they left it there. It was originally a thought process, and these are my words, to do it because of that pending legislation. But as they spoke, and a couple of them realized that, okay, we're not having to do it, we told them, Brooke came back and said, we need to let you know, you don't have to do that. And they said, well, that's where we want it anyway. So that's why, that's their, is that correct? Yeah. But I do want her, when she comes back in, to give you the knowledge that we have, and anybody can go online and find this, but the knowledge that we have, if she comes back, of where that stands. So if that helps you or doesn't help you, but I feel like you should know that.
I just want to move forward with this budget, if we're going to try to move towards passing it, you know, just, or not, if not, I don't know how long we're going to set it, and I don't limit what I can probably
Well, the only other thing I'd like to say, and I'm just trying to make sense, and I visited with Mr. Brown, or Councilman Brown the other night, long time, we agreed to disagree on a lot of things, we had a good visit, and nobody got hurt or anything, throwing chairs, we had a good visit. Don't know that we agreed with each other, and that's okay too, and we won't probably agree tonight, but Councilman Terry mentioned a while ago that he's not aware, and he shouldn't be. I mean, he's a councilman that comes in and he does a great job, and everybody does a great job. It's your big responsibility. But not knowing what everybody's job requires of them, and obviously you didn't. Overtime, I can tell you, I was parks director 10 years, I keep bringing that up. There's a lot of overtime. There's a lot of, can he stop it for you? Sure. The things that you see will not get done and will not be maintained in the manner that you see if he stops it for you. Joe Mangus works, they all work overtime. Do they have to? No, they can go home. There are people that at 40 hours, we don't have any, I can promise you that.
Well, I would say something like the street guys, the flood, the water, the sandbags, they're probably required to probably come out on call. I don't know, I just don't know why, because Richard would have to be coming out on call at 8 o'clock at night for.
Right now, it's 7 days a week, I'm out here doing something, doing
They
maintenance,
have,
festivals. I mean, we're out setting up early, we're doing 14, 16-hour days on festival days.
Richard's paying the caboose on the weekend.
Yeah. But I'll stop.
On the city time.
Give me the word.
he's getting paid for what you pay him, but he's doing.
He's salary.
Right.
But he's working on the
When he
weekend.
goes to Walmart, is he the parks director too, on salary? I mean,
Well, I think that's where you have to learn to, yeah, either give comp time or balance it or whatever, you know, I mean, that's where you.
You pay him hourly, you pay him a lot more than that.
oh, I agree, I'm not saying pay him hourly.
But I mean, that's what
I'm
you
not saying
have
pay
to.
him, I'm talking about the position of parks director. I want to try to make, I know he is the parks director, so it's, it falls on Richard.
I'm not taking.
Well, and that's why
So,
you
but
have,
we got in that trap, you know, with a fellow in a water plant, you know, I mean, he was making water and he was working, you know, and it got out of, you know, hand, you know, he said, hey, you need to, you know, rein that in or, you know, use other things to comp time or something like that, you know, or maybe you can other man, you could do that much.
But he's salary, there is no, you're not paying him any more. He can work 80 hours and he still gets paid.
Unless he's making less than 50,000.
but the reason you have a position and a salary range of a minimum and a maximum is if you don't have Richard McKinney and you've got somebody else, Doug Kinslow, as an example, you pay him less. And the guy that's Richard McKinney gets to the top of the pay.
Right.
I mean, that's the mayor's call on whether that guy's performing the job inside of that. I think our job is to create the window. You know, here's the minimum, here's the maximum. Mayor, you gotta live in the window. You live inside the box. And we're gonna give you the box of all of these positions. Here's the minimum and the maximum. Now, if you wanna give the maximum to every department head this year, you've hit the top, you've hit the lid. Next year, there aren't any merit raises for anybody. They all hit the lid, you know. And if we can agree to the range, you know, I mean, that's, at ABF, where I work, the HR department does their thing and they create the pay scales based on positions and job descriptions and they give that to me. I can give raises to anybody in my staff without going to HR and saying, can I do this? Because they've given me the window. You can do whatever you want inside of this window with that person. Now, if you want to get outside of the window, then we gotta have a different job.
So do we have windows right now for all these positions? I know we've seen.
Well, that's what
I've
the
seen
thing that you just
information.
passed down here, AC, I mean, that's what I'm wondering.
That is
She's
what I'm-
making copies of. Is that the window?
Well, I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
That's the window I'm using.
We've talked about windows before, we looked at different salary ranges, I just don't remember that we set those. I remember it was more information, my memory of it is more for your information, here's what these ranges are, here's what the median is.
Good point.
But we had-
Johnson, all of my job descriptions, you know, for my department has a minimum maximum, and, you know, so that like y'all said, if somebody quits, they don't come in at the same, just like animal control. We lost animal control,
Council, we
the other
haven't
comes
set
in at
those for
the
department
base.
heads, which is really what we're talking about. We give leeway within the department heads to, we're talking about the mayor and department heads, and so I don't remember us doing
I
that.
don't think we've
I
ever
know we looked
appreciated that.
at it.
I mean, I'm fine with all these numbers in the budget as they are, but I think that's a takeaway for us is that we sit down at some point.
And I think we should set a goal of, you know,
But
within
that's
the
where I-
first 2 quarters of this coming year, to have set that window that you talked about for the department heads. Sit down and say, here's what the window is. And that way, when we come into 2017, this issue, you know, we've done a good job over the years that I've been on council. Every year, it seems like budget talks are complicated and long and lengthy and heated. But what we talk about every year isn't always the same. You know, this is something that comes up every year.
I mean, this is constructed.
Yeah, figuring out how to set this. So, you know, setting a goal for us as a council in the next year to come up with those windows so that when we sit down to have the budget talks for 2017, you know, we've got some framework to work in. I think that's a great goal. I don't know what it does for this budget. You know.
Well, we can agree to a format like this, and I don't know how we come up with, you know, us. All I would have to say, municipal league, what should be in the box, which is what this is, from what I understand.
Right. But
I mean, I don't know what
They do it for us, but I think we have to decide on, all right, what cities are we going to use, you know, in those parameters? Are we gonna go out the highest and the lowest and, you know, get an average of that, or whatever? Because some cities, you know, have, you know.
What is this, by the way?
That's exactly what you're looking at, a municipal league scale, pay scale on towns with up to 10,000.
Yeah.
9,999, it's right
But we
there.
also use some, because we're out there on the border, you know, some, you know, below that, which is.
I will tell you that we pulled out the city of Osceola.
One city above ours is sponsored.
Yes,
Press on
we pulled out Osceola, the reason we did, and
How
this,
did you get this range here for like the mayor Doug Kinslow? The mayor would start out at 40,000. He could only max out at 64,983. How did you
Because
get
we
that?
went from Maryville up, and we
Okay.
took all those minimums, and then we averaged them. And then we took the maximums for those.
We've not ever officially adopted this. It's not been put forward to us and we voted on it.
no,
Each year,
I agree with
out there figuring.
See, I agree with Lee. We need to say we're gonna do this in February council meeting. We're gonna go through this and we're gonna officially adopt these pay range, these scales. And when this person's at the top of their scale, like Daniel says, because I agree with Daniel, and you're done. You just have nowhere else to go. You know, we take care of other people, but you're done.
And we don't, I mean, we need this
That would
minus
solve
things.
a lot of the fights we have every budget session.
Well, it's back further.
yeah, you go flip on back and it's got positions, that just happens to be who they are.
Yeah.
And I will, if I may say, and I don't want to sound frustrated, but I guess I am a little bit, because in past, the council's done a great job, I'm not saying they haven't, but in past, I would love to see that. I mean, I would be tickled to death in February if we can, you, the council, and I can sit down, we can all do, and hash it out and have this chart, this is what we do. This is the law, if you will, according to pay scale, step at a time. And there's no question, I don't think, I'm not suggesting, have I suggested a couple that is probably higher up in the step than maybe they should be according to their years spent? Yes, and finance director is one of them.
And I will add that, if I may. I'm
Sure.
sorry to interrupt
That's
you.
okay.
But the school system, as an example, has a max in their pay range, and then they have a year's merit. I
Yeah.
guess if that's what you say, you get merit based on tenure at the, you know. You could have something like that. You're at the ceiling, you know, whatever.
That's it.
Every year.
It just seems like, I'm sorry.
That's just the number that's there.
It just seems like every so often I hear, and again, I'm not trying to be mean or anything or sarcastic, but it seems like I hear that there is a suggestion that we go over that top. That's not suggested at all. It hasn't been suggested. And you're right. If, for instance, and I'll just use that for that position. If she tops out according to this chart, if you were to adopt this chart in February of this year, next year, and she's $1,000 away, and I'm not looking at it, but if she's, whatever she is away, and then next year, somebody decided that it was a good idea to go ahead and give her a topped out, and that top out didn't change for 5 years, I know, she knows, we all know that she doesn't get anything unless there's a COLA for 5 years. Nobody, I don't think anybody has any question regarding that. I don't.
Well, I think, I don't know, even if COLAs, I mean, if they're topped out, they're topped out. That's where you're.
Well, that's the study
If
from-
COLA, you know, raises all, you know, ranges.
I understand. I understand.
$35.
But here's what I've heard, here's what I was gonna say a while ago that frustrates me some. And we have, the council has met, and I've certainly not been up here, I was sitting up there several times when these charts are presented, and there are councilmen that have said, not good, not bad, I'm just saying, and they have said, I don't really care about Clarksville, I don't care that we're keeping up with so-and-so, and it's put aside. So you either have to make your mind up later on, that you adopted and that's what you want to do.
Well, I guess what
or
I'm seeing here
You
is.
gotta have a process.
Where I have the disparity is that, you know, instead of, you know, Parks used the pending legislation, you know, say, hey, we're gonna have to be mandated, you know, at 50,000 or pay overtime. And, you know, but then in streets, you know, we didn't do that, you know.
Because the Parks Commission gave you a proposal. It's up to them to propose whatever they want to propose. Now, you can do with that what you want.
Okay.
I am the street representative. By the way, I chose to wait on that legislature.
Okay.
If the
So, you know,
legislation may pass, we may have to come back.
as soon as the legislature passes, I will be back to you as his representative and say, either Joe Manus will need to be paid overtime, or he will need to be raised to $50,440.
Mayor, in fairness to the other comment, I understand your frustrations, but you know, we all have limited time. We're up here serving in this position. Most of us have, all of us have the goodness of our hearts. You know, we're trying to, this because we're trying to do positive things. And historically, a lot of our time's been taken up arguing, visiting, and fussing about stuff that wasn't like this. And so it's hard to keep everyone on track. And, and it's easy to get sidetracked. But here we are at this point in history with the opportunity to go ahead and move forward with a broad suggestion, get something adopted that can be in the framework for future councils moving forward for 10, 15, 20 years, or whatever. There's an opportunity.
If we can get this done and get it right,
Yeah.
next year, it's a
So the only question for me would be, what do we do this year that will satisfy the council and get this budget passed, so that we can move on into.
If all of these salaries in here now are inside of these buckets right now, I'm happy with it.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm,
And I think they are.
Do you want to know about the pending legislation or not? I just want to make sure that that's it.
I don't.
Did you go off the 2015?
Yes.
Because I'm looking at 2015, it's different.
The 2004, one that you got this year that's different?
I'm looking at the 2015, and it's different than this one.
We pulled that Osceola, you heard me say that.
OCO.
Osceola.
Yours is actually lower than what I'm looking
We pulled that Osceola, let me,
And the summer's hay fund, that takes all
at.
cities around.
This is a longer conversation. That's what I think. See, I think all this ought to be put in February meeting.
Well, yeah, you'll-
Yeah.
And then-
let's figure out what we're gonna do with tonight, or move with this.
without any, let me tell you what we did as a city hall and as mayor's office and Brooke and Ann and I, and let me tell you what we did as finance department and all this working together without a structured guidance to say this is what you guys want. We did it on our own. And yeah, there's some answers. Osceola for one, you need to know that city was pulled out. And later on, you'll need to know why. They paid their top added finance director at Osceola $102,000. That didn't seem right. He called Osceola in my office, in Brooks' office, and the reason Osceola's administration or finance director was paid 102 is that he is the finance director for the city of Osceola, and he's the finance director for their own power plant. He ought to make $102,000. He's making 80, I think. So we pulled him out. Didn't make sense. That doesn't fit anything.
Let me make a couple of suggestions about the 2016 budget, and let me preface it by saying, I'm okay passing it as is. With that said, I think we're gonna have to get a consensus that we can all work forward with. So if we're not gonna pass it as is, a suggestion would be pull all the merits out until they give us a deadline of March. And whatever we decide on as a council becomes retrospective for 2016, so that everybody gets paid what they were gonna get paid in this budget, but it gives us time as a council to have a constructive conversation, because we're not gonna sort through all this tonight. Is that?
I agree with that, and I think AC seems to be in agreement.
When you gonna sort through it?
Well, but we gotta set a deadline for us. I mean, you know, we could not pass the budget and just do what we've done in years past, which is just pass the whatever the bare minimum budget is that gets us through January and February, till we can get together, all of us, and start sorting through it and come up to consensus, or we can
When
go
do we
ahead.
plan on getting together and sorting through it, is what I'm saying?
Well, it's gonna have to be out. I mean, that's the thing, it's gonna have to be January, February. That's why I would
Why
say,
can't we do it before January? I mean,
I
we're
think
doing
it's
it right
going on
here.
in December.
What are we doing right here, right now?
I say we pass the budget as is and come back just like.
Well, I mean, we've had these budget study sessions in the old days, we've had 50 of them. And we never get it passed before January. We pass the deal just to pay the bills and the salaries in January. And then we come back and have 3 more budget study sessions in January. We finally agree on it. Somebody always vote no, and we get passed in the February meeting. So if you want it past January meeting, what are we doing right here? I mean, it's 8 o'clock. What are we-
I think the salaries are gonna be dragging out. because
Yeah, right.
We're gonna, cause I'd really like to get this thing ironed out, because every year it's something where we're discussing. And so I'd like to go with what Dr. Lee's saying, is that let's pass, on the big things, and then come back in January when things have settled down and stuff like that.
You're looking this way, so I can't tell you, look at me and they see, let's remember what I said to preface the thing, which is I'm okay passing it just as is right now, bam, done. We move on and then we figure it out and sort it out later. But I'm trying to be a peacemaker here at the table.
Well, there's not
I'm
any
okay passing it
possibility.
without all with all the merits removed, because I said, I think it's something that we deal with every year, and we say we're going to, try to fix it and stuff like that, and we never really do fix it. We kind of get close and stuff, but I think we do have an HR, person here now, and I think, we can use her as, her knowledge. She's came up with a pretty good document, but I think we need to, as councilmen, you kind of agree,
I don't want to
is
go
this
HR
accepted,
so much, because that requires a big pay raise.
and stuff.
If you want to start giving out pay raise, then she probably.
She's already been classified as /HR.
Yeah,
To do that /HR.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that she would get required to be longest pay raise. I know she does a whole lot of work for a lot of departments in the city.
I agree with AC, as long as February we come, work brings back.
Which she should
the
do.
scale range and we hash it all out.
The one element I would like to add to this is a scale for the year.
Yeah, it's, you should have steps in there.
Are those steps based on what?
Per year.
Per year.
Per year.
They're 10, it's a 10-year, those are 10 years.
But is the step from the minimum to the maximum, or is it how long they've been in the
It's
position?
just strictly minimum to max.
But do you make the step, what I'm saying is, that to me, the steps, the year qualifier kicks in once you hit the ceiling.
Well, see, that's things that we still need to
Those are the things
discuss.
we need to hash out,
Yes.
so. But,
Because I'd like to use what you have, your knowledge of the
February
school.
conversations.
Yes.
We can go
so
ahead.
I'm just saying, think about that before we get to that meeting, is what I'm asking.
Do we want to think about education pay for employees?
Yes.
While we're
We
not-
already said that, I thought, that's already been talked
What
about.
she said?
Never got approved.
No.
That's a good
Police
Education
officers,
pay.
the rest
I
of
mean,
it.
if somebody passes, Ann passes the CPA, that ought to be.
This February meeting, we're sort of mystically tossing out. We all agree that probably needs to be its own dedicated special study session
Yes.
apart from.
We have all these pay raises for cops in here with AAs and VAs and stuff in there.
That's degree pay.
Yeah, right.
That's the police department.
So we've implemented, really, I think in some ways in the police department, we've done that, in the fire department.
So you're all talking about degree pay for like Mike Davidson gets a backhoe technician degree.
Yeah.
Certificate pay, it's part of it. I mean, I think that's something you have to look at.
That's lower than.
It's a different than degree, but that's a certificate.
Yeah.
So,
Or, yeah,
I think
you got an electrician and he's a journeyman, or something,
I'm just asking before we make this whole study.
so I'm not sure.
I would just say, if you're talking about department heads or does it matter? And
I think we need to get the whole shoot
They
match.
got everybody on this sheet, so I guess we look at everybody.
I'm talking about as far as education pay goes.
I think the education pertains to their job. I mean, that's my,
I would hope we didn't hire people that didn't have, I'm assuming you have some sort of financial degree or you've been through it. Right.
Police officer,
Four-year degree.
he doesn't have to have one.
I mean, I'd like to think
She
that
got her master's, but
Because
did not want to.
it's just better for Greenwood.
she should be allowed to get some sort of pay raise, yeah.
Well,
That,
that's good.
I don't think we have to have some sort of shit in writing that says if she gets this, she gets this, that's where the mayor comes in and
Budget and pass.
says she just got her math.
Make a motion to pass the budget.
As
Well-
is or without the merits?
I thought that's what the merit was.
Without
If she got an extra degree, you.
Well, I'm listening to him.
I mean, she got the program, $5,000. Don't worry about it.
I would-
Without merits, and then we come back and make it retrospective, is that?
But I don't really want to pass the budget. I've seen me kind of go over, I mean, I've been over the streets. I want to make sure that there's, the streets. And I want to hear Joe talk about what he's going to do with his roof. Because I've been over there and I've seen that roof just here recently. I want to hear that stuff.
yes.
Okay, so,
What's your cabinet, if you want to go over it?
Am I coming up now?
Never get-
Well, I don't know.
Yes, we're on.
Quarters or
We're
something?
going home. So what's that?
It's almost went up to 33. I thought they said. No.
Let me know what your maintenance bill looks like, how much it goes up.
that's why I really want, my question is, when they were, about the roof.
Put the roof on.
Huh?
We're gonna put the roof on.
Is it in the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's for repair building.
Is it, and again, I've heard what you say, is it going to repair the
That's why
roof?
there's such a big increase. It's gonna replace the roof.
I think you're going to try to dress up.
Insulation, new metal, and then change the even in the front. Yes.
Leave it,
That's what I've got bid, that's what I've got estimated price for, we'll have to put it up for bid.
leave it as it is, we open up a splash pad with parks in there.
You've seen it.
Me and AC have saw it, real well.
Joe, I
There's
don't,
gonna be some maintenance on that building. That building's older than some of you on the council.
I'm having second thoughts on paver. I don't know why you're paver, street paver, asphalt paver, whatever you call it, paver.
They don't- Well, it's a little late now, so I'm worried about it.
I guess, so we have free money for next year's budget, and if it's not a paver, compactor or roller,
Roller, that's
That's
it. Drum roller.
it goes with the paver.
Yes, sir.
What's the compact track loader skid steer, that little bobcat?
That's Bobcat.
Done with asphalt.
Well, that's to do the milling at your intersections. You don't wanna have the, that's for milling and then sweeping up.
It's a package plate.
Vibrating plate. That's a handheld. Like around your water meters, your radiuses on your curvy.
Never mind.
You okay? Now, and many of those pieces of machinery we'll use on other jobs also. Skid steer, that'll be
Right.
used in cleaning the creeks, and
Well, I just,
vibrating plate used to bed in gravel.
I got to thinking so much about the paver, I just got to thinking that, that's one of the deals like we've been talking about already tonight, that you just need to have guys come in and do it. Y'all shouldn't invest in that headache. That's a whole lot of work, that's a lot of time. I don't, but I'm too late, obviously, you already want
We've heard about it. And from the city that we purchased it from, they let us know that they tried the same scenario, what they could hire it out for, they can do twice as much by doing it themselves with the same money.
I just.
Granted, it's work, but, I mean, you gotta be willing to work.
Well, I'm just afraid to take away from other work. We've got plenty of work for y'all. This is the humongous task to take on. If you got to pave the street and curb and gutter and paint the lines and all the bicycle marking, all that junk. I just,
Is your intent to, in other words, when we get an opportunity and we'll be applying for that grant again, like we got through the federal government to overlay Main Street, and is your intent to take on a project like that? In other words, if
That
we
big
needed to
job?
overlay, if we needed to overlay Daisy to take care of the school
Yes.
traffic, I don't think he's looking at that piece of equipment for that. I think we'll be going right back to.
We're gonna do some shoulders,
Outside
some
contractors.
widenings, and then do the overlay.
like the, what's that, Powell lives on, Webster, widen, like, not saying that needs to be widened, I'm saying that, as a for instance, widen that one street and
Houston Street is
Say
about
Houston.
this way.
yeah.
Houston.
What's that one El Paso that runs here to the back behind the school? You can barely get two cars, is that El Paso? Yeah. From like.
You can
Daisy
practice
to-
on Bell's Palm.
Well, I just don't.
Now, with those streets in mind, we've got to maintain, we've got to obtain some easements.
Reasons, right. I got to think about it, I don't know, I thought, man, we don't really pay, the guys got a lot more stuff to do than pay. But, I mean, I guess I was just thinking humongous overlay from North Main from Center Street to wherever.
Did you start machinery?
Yeah, I know that paving a road, it takes humongous, amount of man hours and power and machinery.
We're gonna do this in small steps. I mean, if we can do twice as much for the same money, we're gonna try to do that.
Well, I just hate to see all this stuff.
Buck.
Well, I understand, but I hate to see stuff just sit down here and not get used. I agree.
Equipment.
Or labor, whatever. I mean, I'm sure, but
You guys.
again, I don't follow y'all around and wonder what y'all do all day.
I will say you approved, and I asked you to do it, you approved that purchase of that paper with the challenge. that he uses that, that's on record.
Well, I agree with that, but I haven't seen the street sweeper for a while.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the street sweeper in a while, or, I mean, we bought a lot of stuff.
You know, watching Richard will have it out using paper
And
trails.
everything that we're.
That's what it should be used for,
Yeah,
basically,
that's a good piece of equipment for that.
Right. I mean, that'd be, I don't know how
You can
agile
practice
the
on
rig
Bell
is,
Park Road.
but painting hay with the trail,
Bill says he can practice at Bell Park.
no doubt. Yeah.
I've got Main Street that I'm trying to.
Surely, the artist
Worried about
money in the budget, maybe the park.
Okay, I think, I'm sorry, I can't interrupt you. Anything else to
Okay, go
go?
ahead.
No, that's good. That's good.
How many times
I'm
am
gonna throw that up.
Thanks, sir. We had a big motion, I don't know.
Well, the other thing, I guess the other thing I would like for the council to consider, I guess, when we talk to other, I don't have anything to add, but I just kind of looking, we've always been talking about, storage or, storage building. I'd really would like to say that, either have start a designated account or something like that to say, I'd like to give us, some storage. Maybe somewhere that we don't have to, we can get a just nice metal building, it doesn't have to be, with a pretty facade or anything like that, but where we can store things and stuff, huh?
Your garage.
It'd be, we're gonna have that occupied there, but I mean, there's, just stuff that we, I think storage is an issue for all, I think, departments. And, whether it's, files or whatever, I just think that, you need to really kind of look at that and, kind of factor in some type of cost for a storage building.
Share it among
Yeah, share them all.
departments that we, I agree with you.
Could we challenge the mayor to bring us a plan for that by February as well? Maybe not try to force it into this
Yeah,
budget, but
sure. You wanna tell me where to put it, you want me to just talk to the department heads and see
see what
what
we
we
need.
need?
No, we don't need parks.
That costs us money.
I'm sure they,
Any,
police ought to have.
We don't even give them the money.
We're fixing to come up on a time to meet up with Greg Cross and then running through departments and just pay,
They go over and
or
just.
throwing pay raises around.
That's it.
Well, I think we're not, at this point, now that we got the roof taken care of and they got the storage building, I said, I'd make a motion that we adopt the budget with the merits removed, but address them by, I'd say, the first council meeting in March, and, but make them retroactive to, January 1st, 2016.
So the plan would be that
I need to first address, there was a motion, but it never got completed. I don't want to just ignore it, so I just want to make sure that we're following. You started it. Huh?
He had a motion first.
Right, that's what I'm saying, there was one.
Maybe he said notion.
you're withdrawing your motion?
You can either withdraw or continue, finish it, whatever you want to do.
I'll withdraw it.
Okay.
Well, again, I'm just gonna say that
Your second is withdrawal?
I second today's motion.
I'm just gonna say that we, as a budget talk still yet, I'm not even, I can't ever even attempt to pass it without, six flare here. I think that's what we grappled about the other night, not passing it before, and now all of a sudden we're gonna pass it five. But anyway, we're gonna visit up with Greg Cross at some point. Like I said, he's running two departments on one department's salary. But, we can cross that bridge when we get there, maybe next year. Hopefully we'll have some surplus money.
Yeah, we will cross it.
You're talking the water commission. See what they think.
Okay, I need to address one issue, or have a discussion, we got a motion and a second, Mr. Powell. Second. You have two commission, or one commission, being parks, that is, and I guess you're just removing all, I don't guess it makes any difference if it's commission or not, that they propose the raises.
That would be, we would strongly encourage the commissions to follow and see what the city's doing. That would be what I would say.
That's how your nose
And I think if we give the commission these tools, that they will follow, that they will, cooperate within those guidelines.
You have a commission that has proposed a merit raise for the department head in that, in the Parks Committee, and I was just asking to make sure that, because we're in an interesting era, if you will, of commissions proposing budgets, and then of course, the council has to approve the budget, so I just want to make sure that that is at least least noted
The budget that we're,
that they had
the
proposed
budget
that.
we're proposing to adopt will take out those merits as well until and then the plan, I guess, I'm not meaning to put, that, I think that's what you're saying, that we would come back with recommendations for merit raises by the 1st of March that would be retroactive.
Okay.
Well, I think what we want to come back with is a window, right?
Yes.
And the mayor will give the merit raises inside those windows, right?
I guess that's what we'll have to hash out.
That's what I think we want to get to, and then it's solved, hopefully.
Well,
Well, like I said, you know, I think that there's, like you said, you mentioned the school, how they do it, you know, I mean, you know, we use, you know, work here as, you know, as a resource, and yeah, I think.
And the reason you know, the reason I say that, and the reason I'm willing to say we'll vote with the merit raises out, is I feel confident that the work we have is going to get us back to these. I mean, I think these people are going to get the merit raises that are due them based on the windows. I don't think the numbers are that far off.
Keep in mind, the Parks Commission won't meet until January, so it'd be almost up against your next meeting
They could have a special.
for them to take out. Yeah.
And Water Commission has merits in there as well, but they have it as pools of money.
Right, they have a lot of theirs, all they're at is pools.
Yeah.
So you're saying leave pools or remove pools?
I would say leave.
I don't have no
Yes,
idea.
I would say leave.
I'm assuming Sonny, the planning commission.
I'd say if it's merit, you know, let's just be
Put it all in the
uniform.
merit raise
Let's,
column.
yeah, I'd say,
Motion is to remove it all.
yeah, I'd say move it all, you know, it's gonna be
Well,
retroactive,
they all do.
so it's gonna be retroactive.
But I just still don't know about this commission, if they can undo what they've done, and that's why Lee says strongly encourage them not to do
Well,
it.
the planning commission.
That's the question I have.
Answer to the commission.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Bill, I-
Any other discussion?
Huh?
planning commission doesn't get into budgets and things like that, if that's what you were asking.
Well, he was asking about Greg getting paid from the water commission setting his pay, because the Parks Commission setting his pay, and I said, well, what Sonny did, the planning commission set his pay, I didn't know what the difference was.
Mayor did.
And so you know, if you care, I don't know, I certainly care because I wonder all the time how to do things and how to react with commissions, and I'm pro commissions today. Don't have a problem. I love the eyes on everything.
Just today?
Just today, no, in general, I think it's a good thing, and until somebody shows me different, I'll go with that. But the raises, or the lack of merit raises, if you will, I'm staying out of commission's budget. I'm not making any recommendations as of right now. You know, as mayor, I may want to think that over next year or something. But to me, the commission is representative of that department. Anyway, that's kind of how I would like to leave that. I want you to know that that's how that works, because if somebody's looking at the budget, they're thinking, well, the mayor didn't even offer this, I don't feel that I'm supposed to be honest with you, at this point.
Well,
I think, Mayor, you're a great source of influence and
Well,
recommendations, you know, so I don't think that you should not have an
Sure.
opinion.
No, I have an opinion, believe me. I have an opinion, I express it more often than I should probably.
I think you just
And
have
I
to
visit
do
those.
the commissions.
Yeah, I come to every commission meeting. I don't miss a commission meeting unless I've got something that keeps me away. I don't miss it, but I listen to their,
Except for the last one.
yeah.
I think we need to have this budget
I just want you to know that I'm.
discussion as quickly as, you know,
That would
in
be-
January, because I think we're gonna run into some hurdles with that very thing. Commission setting their pay, what are we doing?
Good start,
You
so
know,
it wouldn't be a problem just bringing stuff to us in January.
No, I mean, I just want y'all to choose, do y'all want us to do a certain population up? Do you want to go into the 10,000?
Well, that's a January conversation, but I don't believe in going down. You know, these people that show up from Huntington and, you know, Mansfield and stuff.
Right.
No, we need to be looking at Malvern, Hope.
Daniel's talking about people that we would possibly lose employees to. I mean, do we want to?
Well,
Or we
and that's
just wanna
a
go
January
off?
conversation.
Well, I think if you
well,
could.
we want her to have those numbers when we.
If you, yeah, either you're gonna have to, I mean, you're gonna put a lot of decisions on her in January for her to come back with more, with the
Me personally,
information.
I would be looking between towns of 10 to 12, 13,000, because that's where we're growing. It's just life in the big city. We're a growing city, and we need to be in that range.
You want that,
Tax
Council?
revenue.
Ron, there's not that many.
Not that
Sure, Malvern, Hope, Batesville, Marion.
You need to look at towns that have our tax base equitable, similar, because, you know, we've always done this towns of our size deal, and we always throw out a college, an interstate, demographic, all that. I mean,
But there again, that's where I think that's gonna be the discussion, you know, when we look at
some
this.
towns that have humongous nuclear power plant, and got 300 people like Osceola, they're gonna pay out ungodly wages because they have a humongous budget.
Yes, right.
Right, that's why you pull them out. I mean, I can throw out every town in America. I mean, there's not very many towns like Greenwood, they're veteran communities. Greenbrier, Arkansas, go get their stuff. They're probably about 5,000 people, but they're similar as far as tax base goes. They're a veteran community to Conway, Bologna, Arkansas.
But I think, you know, we're small stuff, you know, or you can, you know, it's downloadable, you know, on the internet, you know, but I mean, like a hard copy, you know, Bruce can get that, and you can be.
I've seen that study so many times I can recite in my sleep. But I'm just saying, don't tell me about Clarksville with a college and an interstate and, you know, festivals and all. I mean, and there's just, what is their budget for their city? I mean,
Well, and again, that's where we can, that'll be hashed out, but I would also like to entertain, you know, what you said, kind of how the school system does it. I mean, I think they're a very good.
oh, there's no question, there needs to be top-out pay, that's life, sorry. I mean, unless you're a CEO, I mean, why the mayor hadn't got a pay raise, I have no idea. I do know why, because he doesn't have very many jobs anymore. Matter of fact, we've just about cut the mayor completely out of city government because we've got commissions. The only reason the commission reform was to save those jobs in the first place, because the last mayor was crazy. Period. That's the facts.
Amen.
And you don't have to report that.
So it's a shame that he can't control what he wants to control in the Parks Department, because there's a commission now that was created to save his original job. It's just an unbelievably crazy tangled web, and I don't understand it really. But I guess the word is handcuffed. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the city council's job is, to be quite honest with you, because I don't have any idea what, we can't say, the only thing we can do is cut, which is, and I hate to keep picking on parks, but they're the easiest target, because it seems like we're held hostage by the Parks Commission. But I mean, the only thing that we can do to counteract the Parks Commission is to say, well, we can't give you anything out of the general fund. Good luck. I mean, so, but then you shut down the parks. I mean, the parks is one of the biggest things we have going on in the whole city right now. Trails, the parks, everything looks beautiful. The Veterans Memorial, the parks, it's unbelievable how much progress is going on. But I'm not gonna sit there and have my job as the steward of the city taxpayers' dollars held hostage by the commission. What, they have a recommendation, that's what they've got, a recommendation. Just like the Attorney General's opinions, when they come out, that Mr. Hamby refers to, that's her or his opinion. We don't have to go by what the Attorney General says. That's just the way I see it. So, I mean, you call me a crybaby or whatever you want to call me, I don't care. That's the way I see it. The mayor is in charge of giving out pay raises. The mayor's in charge of firing department heads. And the mayor's in charge of going out and dressing up like Captain America and kissing babies. So, I mean, that's just the way I see it. It's a shame that his duties are getting cut. I guess that's why he didn't get a pay raise in forever, because, which I don't have a problem with that. If you get your duties cut, you should not get a pay raise, I guess, because there's no merit for you to get a pay raise. Unfortunately, Mr. Mayor, which I'd like for you to have one. But
We can vote for him one.
I already tried.
I think we have a motion. Thank you. I don't want to delay anything I need to delay. We have a motion and a second on the floor.
I'd like to read the motion.
Okay.
To pass this 2016 budget with all merit raises removed. Is that correct?
Yes. And be retroactive to January 1st, 2016, once we.
If they're added back in?
Yeah, if they are added back in.
Once we adopt that pay schedule.
That's right.
And we're going to meet.
Is that part of that motion?
Yes, that they.
And once the pay schedule is adopted, make those raises retroactive back to January 1st,
Yes.
2016.
Right.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yeah.
Ms. Terry?
Did everybody vote yes?
Yes, they have.
Vote your heart.
No.
You already voted for your brother? I mean,
Ms. Terry is absent, just for the record, left at 7:05 PM, so there's no vote there, and it passes by majority.
Just so you know, that's the only reason I voted no, is because Nancy wasn't here. And I'm not going to vote for less than 6 of it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to dismiss.
I will make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Thank you, George Smith.